All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fights. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC Fight Night, Taira versus Park, taking a look at the upcoming fights on UFC Fight Night, Delice versus Hernandez. And to do all of that with me, the man, the myth, the legend, my co-host, the Ohio player, Chase Parton. How are you, sir?
You know, it's a Monday. It's after some fights on Saturday, so it's a pretty good day. I'll give you that. So, nothing too crazy, actually. I'll say that.
Absolutely. No, it's a very fine day. Glad to be here. And I'm very glad to announce that this show, Last Week's Fights, has its first sponsor. So, very big thank you to Shroom Bar.
Hell
Got
yeah.
these, got these in the mail here from Shroom Bar. I have not opened it, so I will open it now. But I have had these products before. I've had the Shroom Bar once before. I can vouch for these things being delicious. They are mushroom based protein bars, and they are all natural, and they give you a good boost of energy for the day. They come in these nice little packs here, and this is what the packaging looks like there. So if you would like to get 10% off of a Shroom Bar purchase, go to eatshroombar.com and use promo code LWF at checkout for 10% off. There is a link in the description of the video on YouTube. That will be a direct link that'll get you 10% off without having to do anything extra. So thank you very much to Shroom Bar. And if you see me snacking on one of these things throughout the episode, don't be surprised because they are very good.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised either. I know you're always wanting to find a little tasty snack that we're always looking to endorse. And of course, this is the perfect opportunity because who doesn't love something that is healthy? And I know a lot of people are wondering, like, whoa, healthy. I mean, it can't be like that good, but they are. I honestly will tell you, they are going to be that good for you. So just keep that in mind.
Clean, natural energy indeed. And like I said, very tasty as well. So thanks again to Shroom Bar for sponsoring this episode. What'd you think of these fights, Chase?
I am gonna straight up tell you that you probably, and some other people in the comment section, because I've already heard some opinions about this card. I think you guys are gonna be fighting for your life on this episode because, man, did this one, it did not start out as great as I was hoping. A card with a lot of interesting expectations, but I don't know. I'd have to hear some very good justifications on why this was something other than what I'm thinking. But
Yeah, I well this is interesting to me because I thought this was a fantastic card for, I mean, everybody has their opinions about the Apex cards, quality levels, this and that. I have thought that on the whole we have had some fantastic Apex cards in recent memory, and this was among them with some serious banger fights on this one. But I remember seeing you in the Discord voicing some alternative opinions to that, so I'm definitely looking forward to hearing about those. Like I said, thought this was really, really good. Did want to, before we get into this UFC card, though, just real quick for everybody, because both Chase and I had the opportunity to watch this, which is somewhat rare. But Chase, can we talk just a very brief moment about the PFL card that happened last week as well?
Well, I mean, it should be a very brief moment because there was no like standout performances that I believe that I was watching, except from one Miss referee. I don't know her name, but she was the only standout performance from the PFL card. She was reffing the entirety of the prelims apparently, and she had dude, reffing etiquette. I don't know. She just did not have what I thought a good ref should have. So whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you should never, as a referee, this should just be a general rule. You should never have to ask either of the fighters if one of the fighters is unconscious. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that should just be a thing that you yourself need to know, because that's what you are in the cage to know. That is your job, is to be aware of if the fighters are conscious or not conscious. This lady was, it looked like that everybody else was on vacation. Again, this is also New Jersey. So I had talked on the channel before about New Jersey has a notoriously poor athletic commission when it comes to mixed martial arts. This is an extension of that. So when you have everybody else on vacation and you're in New Jersey, this is what you get. And that was pretty bad. But there was also a couple of other goofy things on that card. One, was when there was a fight that went to split decision with 30-27s on both sides for either fighter.
Nice.
Yeah, again, commission in New Jersey, not great. And then there was another instance, which I thought was just emblematic of PFL in general. I tweeted about this where uh, they were locked up. It was like two, somebody was in they were on the ground in like somebody had the advantage. And on commentary, I believe it was Randy Couture said he should go for an armbar. And the other commentator said, I don't think he knows how.
Nice.
That
Yes.
is, as a professional fight organization, just it's something else. The laughs really are in the PFL, people. So, maybe at some point got to do a little bit of PFL coverage of like an actual full on event. Cause if goofy stuff like that is happening all the time, there's probably something worth covering there.
Well, you're always looking for opportunities to get out here and make new Yama content. You think the UFC gives you funny moments like Atlantic City, obviously. No, PFL, every card is something of a circus, and there's just always something to laugh about, whether it's the commentators, whether it's the fighters, whether it's the promotion just downright not telling you who the fighters are before the fight. That was another thing that I could tell you was making me so mad. Like, I don't know what's happening in the cage because they didn't tell me anything about these dudes before the fights. They're just glazing the entire promotion, talking about the South Africa card and Ditcheva and everybody else, Johnny Evelyn losing. Like, bro, get over it. Get me onto this card so I can see who the fuck's fighting because I'm watching it and it's already lackluster performances. But like that's where the PFL needs to build up the story. Like you got to do the extra work, get the promo packages going. Like people all the time they talk about like the boxing promos and they'd be like, man, why can't the UFC do something like this? And it's like, well, they don't fucking have to. It's because like they actually get their people out there and they're going to perform for the people for the most part. We'll talk about this card, but with the PFL, it's like they never go out there and perform, so they need to do that extra mile to get the fucking names out there, but they don't. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, there's occasional standout moments in PFL, but that's all that it really is. Occasional standout moments. It's there. It's lack of consistency is definitely an issue over there. But you talk to the big muckety mucks, you talk to the big chief officers over there, and everything's going great. So there must be something that we don't know going on behind the scenes. And power to them if that's the case, and they're all happy with how everything is running at PFL. But it's just an odd show on the front end. It really has not gotten any better. I did a Yama episode early on in Yama about PFL and all of the things that like are weird about it, and those same things that I said in that episode still apply. So
So
fun
you
times.
made the video that I should make for Karate Combat, is what you're saying.
Kinda, yeah, pretty much. And you do need to make that Karate
I
Combat video
do.
at some time. There's so much that's going on at Karate Combat that needs to be brought to light. Chase, this
See,
is your chance.
it is my chance, but the problem is there's so much going on over there. It's like at a certain point, it's like I can't even be bothered to dive into everything that's going on. Like that is just
Yeah.
it makes me so uninterested because I watch their promotions, and I know we're going into a whole different rant here, but like, same thing with the PFL. It's like I just watch it. And I'm just not understanding a lot of things with it. And I know the Karate Combat, I could get a lot of interesting things out of it, and maybe one day we'll go into it, of course. But as of right now, like I'm uninterested in the product, so I think it's just killing my motivation to do that. So
Understood. Well, all right. So all of that aside, why don't we talk a little bit about this UFC Fight Night Taira versus Park card? Let's start this thing off with the first fight of the evening. That was Piera Rodriguez versus Ketlin Sosa. I thought that this was a really fine fight to start this thing off.
I mean, it was fine. I mean, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting because we do have times where they match up fights that come first fight of the night and it's like a banger, like good war. And it could be women, it could sometimes be, bigger guys. And then the occasional we get like the sloppy heavyweights that are the first fight of the night that do nothing. This was just one of those run of the mill women's fights, in my opinion. Like Piera came out and she was very impressive because I was originally saying, okay, no way does she look as good as she did before she started headbutting her opponent last fight.
Right.
And give her credit, she actually did. She actually looked pretty damn good. First couple rounds, I mean, Ketlin Souza damn near did nothing in my opinion for what I was seeing. And then I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's just a normal performance. I can't really say there was anything standout. I mean, Piero Rodriguez was good in the clinch. I'll give you that. That was a standout thing going forward. Yeah, she can get in the clinch and she'll throw some knees and elbows. Good for her. Good.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I think that's a decent thing to note from this fight is that she was doing well with those. I thought that they were pretty effective, honestly. She was pretty much spamming them, the knees and elbows, and I'm like, if it's working, keep on doing it. I mean, you don't want to necessarily go back to the well so many times that you become predictable, but she had a clear path and opening for it, so I thought that was decent fight IQ. And on the other side, Sosa just didn't get off quick enough. She just didn't start up quick enough. She landed like 4 significant hand strikes throughout that first round. Rodriguez had way more volume, secured the takedown at the end. I was like, this is pretty good. I mean, Sosa needs to work on her takedown defense, period, though. That's just a general note about this thing, because she got taken down twice by single legs way too easily. The second one was a lot worse than the first. It was towards the end of the fight, so she was probably gassed by that point, but she, you should not be getting taken down with single legs at open range just that easily in general. I mean, at this level of the sport.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. This one, unfortunately, being a split decision is actually pretty interesting because I thought Piera definitely won, but I mean, unanimously. I didn't think there was any round that I thought Ketlin was actually winning. But there's just not too much memorable, and this is actually going to be a common theme with a lot of the prelims. Before we get into some actually good ones, this one just didn't really stick out as memorable to me. What is next for either of them doesn't really matter. I mean, they're not there. There's no new heights being reached for Piera after a performance like this. She's not going to go up and face a ranked opponent. Caitlin Souza probably can't get any worse. She's probably not going to get a great opponent after this next one. She might win, and you can hope for that. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I might beg to differ on Rodriguez. I think that now, because the headbutt incident obviously stands out in our minds for sure, but that was 2 fights ago now, and she won both of her fights. Because the reason I recall that is because I saw her win in Tampa,
Hmm.
and I remember thinking at the time, I was like, oh shoot, that's the chick who got the headbutt, or who perpetrated the headbutt, and I thought that signal to me that I should be aware of and take. As she has made a good rebound, I would say, from that incident, and is now doing pretty decent things. Like, there was a time in this fight where Rodriguez caught Sosa midair during a flying knee and
Mm.
turned that into a takedown. I'm like, that was a great read right there. So there's like little flecks of things that I thought were pretty good in Rodriguez. 2-1 is about right for that, if not 3-0. I thought that Sosa maybe took round 3 after starting to turn up the offense just a little bit there. I definitely thought it was wild that this was a split decision, since it seemed pretty clear cut to me. But I'm coming around on Piera. That's what I said. I had in the notes that when she's not headbutting chicks, she's actually pretty talented.
Yeah, she's decent. I do actually remember that takedown. It was pretty slick. It was pretty funny, but like how like intense of a takedown it was. Like she really jumped full force into her and just got slammed down. Like that was pretty good. So shout out Piera. I mean, 11-2, pretty decent record. I mean, how does she not 11-2-1? Did we already go over this? ESPN doesn't have the one at the end of it or something,
Yeah, I think so. I think that
Okay.
that's exactly it.
Yeah. But either way, going forward, we'll see what's next. Like I said, there's no ranked opponent coming. It's probably going to be someone who's a name at least because we want to see Piera get a name under her resume probably because she's facing a bunch of nobodies. Like the girl she headbutted was I don't even know who that was. And then Ketlin Souza, I mean, we know who she is, but now we know she's not very good. So it is what it is.
True. Yeah. So, I mean, I thought that this was as far as the first fight of the evening goes, I thought that this was a nice way to start it off. It was definitely not like super boring or anything like that. Standard, not like crazy fireworks either, but it wasn't like, oh my God, I'm having to like endure this.
Yeah, this was the start. I mean, I can tell you I wasn't feeling like I was enduring it yet, but this was not helping it in the slightest for the beginning of this card. And I know I'm being negative, but I'm normally pretty positive. That's why I feel like I'm giving a pretty realistic outcome of what I felt. At the end of the day, I walked away from it with a certain set of opinions, and I'm not
Sure.
trying to push them on anybody. I'm just giving what I felt. This was definitely not the greatest start to and I love the Apex. This was not the greatest start to an Apex card. I would say even that. But
Fair. I would agree with that. I mean, we've seen openers that have been like really classics, and this wasn't one of them, but I thought it was okay.
yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, before we move on, got to give a shout out to the chat because the chat is going wild today. Shout out to Pube, of course, always. Bando Ninja Too Funny, appreciate you, brother. TJF, appreciate you always. E Money J and the Vitz King, miss you, Vitz King. You will be back very soon. I know it. So shout out to all of y'all for chilling with us. We very much appreciate it.
Hell yeah.
Um,
Make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't done that already. And of course, make sure you go ahead and hit up the sponsor of the video. Go ahead and
Shroom
shout
Bar,
it out
yeah.
one more time.
Eatshroombar.com, 10% off on your Shroom Bar purchases with code LWF.
Hell yeah. Make sure to smash that shit. I'm actually going to go get me a box myself since I'm going to get a 10% off.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, moving on to the next fight here, Rafael Estevam versus Felipe Bunes. This was a very grapple-heavy affair between these two, and shout out to Felipe Bunes for trying to pull off a buggy choke in the first round. I got to give him credit for going for something unique, at least.
I mean, if you want to dig that deep to find something good to give to this dude, I mean, listen, this is a guy that I've seen Josh Van finish early in his career, and like that's kind of a feat. Josh Van didn't start finishing people; he still doesn't really finish them. But like for Josh Van to finish you, you got overwhelmed, and then in this case. I mean, the grappling was just too much for him, and he tried to pull off some choke that he knew was not going to work. Like, I mean, come on, like, and even it was just funny that they literally sat there for the last minute and a half, and then the commentary is like, "Yeah, well, it technically is an offensive move, so we're just gonna sit here. We're just gonna sit here for the rest of the round." And like that's exactly what we did. The round ended, and we go right back to grappling. And Esteban is I mean, he's not great, guys. He's not something to behold for an undefeated fighter, but he knows what to do and how to get people down. His grappling is pretty good. I actually do like watching him in some of the sequences. Before the last fight, a lot of people would tell you Felipe Boons is like he's a vet level grappler kind of deal, and like in this. He had some opportunities where he tried to do some things, but Estevam is just a youthful, aggressive, relentless wrestler and wrestler, grappler, whatever you want to say. And he really is that good at it. He just has no sub ability, I guess, or finishing ability, I guess. Like, there's nothing to his game other than control and holding down and taking down. Like, I don't know. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah, I mean, this really was pretty much just a glorified BJJ match for the most part. So for that, I thought it was interesting. At least, very high level grapplers doing their thing, having to kind of outmaneuver each other. I did think that Estevam turned up in the second and third a little bit more and mixed in some decent close range striking on top of all of the wrestling and grappling. He definitely had Bunis looking faded by the end of that round, and Bunis just didn't have the answers past that. One thing I didn't mention at the top of this one, though, is that Estevam did miss weight by 3.5 pounds, had 25% of his purse deducted for that. So I thought that he really used his weight and by extension the extra weight to his advantage for a lot of this match and outworked Bunis on the ground for those second two rounds. So pretty simple conclusion to this one. Estevam takes it, but you didn't really get a lot of excitement out of it aside from some interesting grappling.
See, and that's the problem here is like these are flyweights. And like we know Estevam, obviously we know if you're just somebody who knows that flyweights are almost always certified bangers and you come into this thinking this is two flyweights that are going to put on a performance, they didn't necessarily do that. Like I said, this is where maybe I was starting to get a little frustrated with the performances that they gave us two in a row that are like I'm like, I'm supposed to have a banger by now. Like I know when I'm asking a lot here. Give me something to root for in the first two fights, right? First three, if we got to stretch. But these ones right here, yeah, they knew Estevan was not like gonna be exciting, and I know obviously you got to put him somewhere in the card, and that's always gonna derail the momentum wherever you put it. So get him out early. I respect that, but yeah, just copy or cookie cutter performance. He's gonna do
Yeah,
this every other time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he keeps his O, so 14-0 does look good. But I kind of agree with your assessment from last week's episode, where it's like the O has got to go for this guy at some point. So just keep that in mind for people who are betting going forward. That this dude is definitely like serviceable, passable, like in the grappling department. He knows what to do. I think that especially at flyweight, there's going to be somebody who's going to be able to take that O pretty definitively at some point. I don't know if it'll be next, depends on who he's fighting, of course, but I don't see him being undefeated for much longer.
Yeah, on the feet, I don't think he's gonna be able to stand for much longer in this division. I mean, he is pretty big. That's what they were talking about. Him and Felipe, definitely pretty good size for the flyweight division. But they gave him Jesus Aguilar in his last matchup, and he was getting pieced up on the feet a decent amount. And that dude's like 5'4". So if you give him someone relatively decent sized in flyweight with hands, he'll probably be able to keep Estevam, on the back foot. And if he's able to relentless grapple through a really good striker. I mean, credit to him, but I'm gonna have to see it. I'm gonna have to see it.
Yeah, same. So, decent win for him though. Whatever. I mean, that's about it for that fight. I didn't have anything else unless you
Yeah.
do.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to one that was a little bit more exciting here. How about Austin Bashi versus John Giannis? I was very impressed with Mr. Bashi in this one. He looked locked in coming into this thing. Looked a little over eager at first. I think he was kind of reaching for shots a little bit. You can tell that he had that fiery intensity, so he might have been overextending just a little bit, but it certainly paid off. And you know how I feel about strong starters, and this is a prime example of why a strong start can work in your favor.
I will agree. Austin Bashi started and looked like he was ready to go. And he has the Mikey Musumeci thing where he looks like Peter Parker in the face and then, Spider-Man in the body. Whatever you want to say. Like this dude he came in looking jacked. He really did. Compared to what he showed up last time against Christian Rodriguez, like this dude really has been in the gym. And Austin Bashi, credit to him for making a great performance. This was a short notice bout. We can all confirm, right? Like this was a fill-in opponent. This wasn't the scheduled bout for Bashi. If we can confirm
Yeah,
that in the chat, go ahead. But
yeah, I
the
think
reason
so.
I say that is because they could have not found an easier guy for Austin Bashi. I mean, this guy, and listen, I feel bad because like, you got to step up and you got to make something happen. But like, he landed 2 strikes and he never grappled a day in his life. It looks like so. I mean, look, listen, you said it was an exciting performance. It was good, but like knowing that this dude has no opportunity to win the fight on the ground against a great grappling prospect. I mean, you're just waiting for the finish. I mean, we'll talk about it with the main event. Same deal. It's like we knew what was happening. We knew what the deal was, and the UFC just had to get it out the way. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, obviously there was a skill gap in this fight. I think that was very apparent. And as you said, Bashi did lose to Christian Rodriguez. So can he do this against higher ups in the division? That's going to be the question going forward. I mean, he couldn't do it against Christian Rodriguez, but Christian Rodriguez is the dude who proves wrong for these guys coming in often.
It
So
was his debut, and it was like months after his Contender Series,
right,
win.
exactly,
So
and all good points, exactly. So I mean, and also you said he's got the Peter Parker thing going on. I mean, the kid is a kid. I mean, he is a
yeah,
young dude, so he's got plenty of time to improve even further than what he already has. And apparently, he takes the sport very seriously. He's very disciplined and devoted to it. So I think that there's a lot of good things in the future for Bashi if he stays on the straight and narrow, which it looks like he's going to. A couple little standout things from this one for him. He had that really nice up and down takedown that he got, pick up and drop off kind of deal.
mhm.
Took the back, he's striking away, maintains control of Giannis as he tries to get up. The first time was interesting to me because Bashi locks the leg at the knee with his hands on his back. So like he's over Giannis's back and then reaches around to grab the knee to like buckle his knee. I was like, that's a high level move, like right
Mhm.
there. Like, so things like that should give you an impression that there might be more to the dude than we've currently seen, first time jitters in his debut, the short notice. There's a couple of things that could have been that, but you see moves like that, that should give you like a little bit of an impression that there's more coming from him. And then the second time that Giannis almost got up, Bashi lets him get up, maintains control, goes into the standing backpack to secure the finish. I was like, bravo, no notes on all of that. And the fact that he never stopped working from the start of this thing, I was like impressed by that as well. So yeah, I mean, it's easy to do that against a guy who's not giving you much back for sure. So we'll have to see what happens when he does have somebody who's going to be more aggressive coming at him. But every chance that Austin Bashi had in this fight, he was throwing shots or advancing the wrestling, and I really liked that.
Yeah, I agree. I thought this might have been the performance where he got somebody on short notice and he was like, okay, well, let's see what my hands can do against somebody who has never, seen what I can do, kind of deal. initially he did let the hands fly a little bit, but once he got with the wrestling, he knew exactly what he was about to do. Like there was no, playing with his food per se. Like he had to go get this finish. First round, love to see it. If it would have got to the second round and I would have been talking about how this dude's never grappled in his life type of deal, then we should question later if Bashy's that guy. But a first round submission is pretty good, especially because he started out trying to strike with him. If he would have just double legged him instantly, he probably would have got the sub, in 30 seconds. But wait it out.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And just show off a little bit of well-roundedness, I would say. I mean, because his striking didn't look bad either, honestly. I mean, like again, he was reaching a little bit, so like maybe just rein that in, be a little bit more controlled with it. But as far as the technicality of it goes, I was like, yeah, there definitely is something there. It's not, because a lot of times with these dudes that have like the hard wrestling acumen and that's their entire background, it's like very questionable. They need to like really drill the striking, but I was like, it didn't seem out of place. Like, sometimes when you see Bo Nickel trying to strike, it's like, that's a little bit out of place.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, this one, like I said, it wasn't the most exciting performance because it kind of came and went, and there was only really three things that happened. Bashy struck, Bashy took him down, Bashy subbed him. It wasn't really. You can't say. I wouldn't say that John Giannis had like those memorable moments, like where he like didn't get choked out and he was fighting through a real tough submission. Like a couple weeks ago, we had the guy that he said he did some time in prison or whatever, and he actually made a pretty fun performance out of having somebody on his back for the entire first round and not getting finished, kind of deal. So I thought it was. I mean, it was not anything to gloat about. Austin Bashy came in and handled business. This is what you do in the sport. So shout out to him for that one.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's fine. At the start of your career, this is what you should be doing.
Yeah.
You already got your loss out of the way, so that's I think almost a benefit in certain capacities. It's like you don't have to worry about protecting the O. It's not the mystique is not there. You can just be a normal fighter now, and this is what you do. You go out and you handle business, and especially against guys like this, you need to handle business at this stage.
Yeah, yeah. Bashy should definitely feel like in this performance, once he knows that his opponent is pulling out and he's got a short notice guy stepping up, he needs to put on the business suit and put the tie on. You're another day at the office, just go handle business. Doesn't matter how you do it, just go out there and get it done. Because short notice bouts, you really can't expect too much on either party because they don't have a camp. They don't get to prepare for each other. It's two dudes who don't even know who the hell each other are. One dude, you don't even have a picture of him until literally the week of. So I what can you say for John Giannis? I mean, he's 9-4. I don't think he's going to have an illustrious UFC career, but I think it's possible he has a fun performance in the future because he does seem like one of those guys that they threw out there as like potential X factor. Like maybe he does something crazy. Like who knows?
Yeah, like the Moose guy.
Yeah,
Remember the Moose? Yeah, we could see something like that. Any of those guys, or Goozy. I mean,
yeah.
like a couple of those dudes. Like there's potential for those guys to still do something at some point. So hopefully he comes back, maybe has a better performance next time. But Austin Bashi gets the day, and well deserved.
Yep. Yeah, no, I hear that.
Yeah. All right. Well, this one was an interesting one. Next, Nick Klein versus Andre Puliev. I know you have a lot of opinions about this one, so why don't you start it off?
I mean, I don't know if I have a lot of opinions because it really comes down to just Nick Klein had a great first round, dominated Andre Puliev, made me tell everybody that Puliev is one of the biggest frauds that you guys will ever see in your life because he can't do anything with grappling. He gets to the ground and sucks. And Nick Klein comes in the second round and apparently doesn't have lungs. I don't know what happened. He does not have lungs anymore. He literally walks out there tired as shit, gets kicked in the body, and falls down and makes Andre Puliev look like he's actually somebody good. And we know for a fact, listen, he's not. He's not, guys. I want listen, listen. Let me put it this way. I'm happy that he won very convincingly. I lost money then, but now he's going to be even a bigger favorite or a bigger favorite next fight after he just got a TKO finish, excuse me. Now his next opponent, it's going to be an actual killer who's going to be plus 350 and I'm going to bet on it and I'm going to win everything and more because Andre Puliev is just not that guy. And I hope he heard that.
Hey, I mean, I really cannot disagree at all. This was more of a failure on Klein's part than Andre Puliev being great.
Yeah.
Klein started off strong, like you said, good hard shots, gets the takedown, takes the back and has the face crank, but then he got impatient. He got impatient in that moment, trying to readjust. He lost the position. I was like, dude, you let that slip, bro, because he was really pretty close to dead to rights. I mean, you would have to have been sitting there cranking on it for a while. It might not have, you might not have even gotten the sub in that moment, but you could have maintained that position and had him close to submitted for an entire round if you wanted to, and then gone into the next round fresher than you did, potentially anyway. Who knows? Because this guy apparently has no cardio whatsoever. But either way, you could have done that, but you didn't. Puliev just stayed calm throughout all of that, worked through all of the aggression, weathers the storm and some clinching, then lets his hands go a little bit in the first, plus that knee at the end of it. Klein gets another takedown at the very end, wins that round. It's like, okay, everything's going great. Round two, Klein looks a little tired, but not terribly so, at least not visually, but something else was there. Like you said, these lungs not pumping air apparently, because Klein gets Puliev down again, and Puliev did that little like wall walk into the roll. I was like, that's kind of a neat move, but probably should have been able to negate that. I'm not trying to split hairs on any of that kind of stuff, but yeah, Puliev drops Klein with that body shot, and then it's just all over. I mean, a few shots on the way down cut Klein open, and that was about it. And it was surprising because it didn't even look like it was a liver shot. Maybe it was. Look, I'm not, we're going to talk about another one here coming up where it's like you get hit on the liver in the right place, your body shuts down. It is what it is. But to me, it didn't. I don't know. It's just like the flat of the foot hit like pretty strong and hard, but like you should be able to take a body kick. I don't know. I don't want to be like too hard on him if that's what it was, but it just seemed like a crumbling a little bit prematurely, perhaps, and also an exhaustion thing. And that to me is why Klein, it really dropped the ball on this, more so because he let that face crank go than anything else.
Yeah, this one, oh man, this was really hard because Nick Blue Collar Klein was low key living up to the name, and he was putting on a really good performance. And I don't know why. I think it's because this dude kind of reminds me of my relatives, probably white trash somewhere down the road. But I think I still have hope for him because, like, bro, he was winning. Like, come on, he was doing so good, and then he just wasn't. And then I also want to know, Puliev threw a kick while Klein was on the ground. I don't know if you saw
I
that.
did, yeah.
Like,
I had to do a double take on that too. His feet both were planted. He was still a
yeah,
not non-grounded opponent at that point. But yeah, just the instinct is a little worrisome.
right. Yeah,
Um,
he. I don't know, man. This fight, it was definitely a roller coaster, but it was a quick one. Like this, it was all in the driver's seat for Klein, and then it's like, oh no, no, what are you doing? He fell over. No, oh my goodness, and then it's
yeah.
over. It's like, wow.
Yeah, and one other thing to note about Puliev, again, for people who may think that, oh wow, Puliev is this dude that you need to watch out for now. Puliev starts his strikes extremely far back. Like he reaches across chasms for his
Mhm.
strikes. So I said that, like, that may have worked here, but a guy like Torres Finney is going to have a field day with this dude. Like he is leaving himself so wide open for counters, wide open for takedowns. Like there's a lot of things that can go wrong when you strike the way that Puliev strikes. So just be aware of that as well. What, you're
Lo-
making faces? Am I
I
wrong?
mean, out of all the people you could have said, I mean, Torres Finney
Oh, dude, are
is
you kidding me? He's the perfect example. A guy who reaches like that, all he has to do is load up from a mile away and start the strike. That's telegraphing. I mean, Torres Finney sees that coming, duck under, pick him up, and drop him. I
I
mean,
mean,
that's
I agree, but I would actually just love to see Puliev get the hype that he came off another a finish here, and he has a lot of finishes by knockout in his career. I'm hoping he'll get a little traction so they give him an actual worthy opponent. Give him Marco Tulio and just let me win everything that I can on this guy. Like,
legit, sure, for sure. Yeah, I can agree with that too. But to that point, kinda, both of these guys coming off of the Contender Series, both lost their first fight in the organization, going up against each other. This by extension is essentially another Contender Series fight, technically. Then, right? I mean, if they're both coming off of losses to UFC caliber talent, and they both are on the Contender Series. So that being said, do you cut Klein?
Oh, he's gonna get one more because he's the guy that you can feed those animals coming out of Contender Series. You know, we're gonna get 8 new middleweights this year signed to the UFC. Klein can get one of them. You know, I mean, they
Sure.
need an entry. If you're talking about Puliev getting his Contender Series round 2 matchup in the UFC, I mean, Klein can go for a third, guys. I mean, I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think that it's necessarily time for that just yet. I think that what you said there, the narrative side of things does track. I mean, he's got the mullet going on. Kind of looks like CM Punk in the face a little bit too, by the way. So maybe a little connection there as far as the. I, I don't know. Anyway, but the blue collar aspect of it maybe resonates with some people. So
Mhm.
perhaps there's some part of the narrative that makes sense for that. And yeah, I could see him sticking around at least for one more. But if he loses again, man, come on, dude.
Dude, I mean, 6-3. I hate to see people like this because, like, you could tell that they got to the highest level of the game really early in their pro career, and it's not many people are gonna have a higher ceiling than that. You know, you have to be a special individual in the sport, and you really have to just be destined for greatness. You have to have the dedication, you got to have the athleticism, you got to have the genetics, whatever you want to say. You got to have all the diet, you got to have all of these things, and a lot of people are getting thrust into this a little early before they've actually perfected a lot of those things. And and I just think the ceiling for Nick Klein is most likely one more win in the organization.
Yeah, could
That
very
that's
well
that's
be.
the biggest thing that he can get is one win, and he may not even get that. And that's probably the most for a lot of these guys that we're going to see when they come in and they're 6-2 or 7-1, like 4-2. I know that one's uncommon, but we've seen it. Like,
Sure.
so I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think it all tracks, and unfortunate unfortunate on all sides because now we have to watch more Andre Puliev. So get ready for that, everybody.
Well, and actually, the last thing I'll note is, I said that hopefully he gets a lot of hype from this and gets skyrocketed into an opponent that's, worthy competition. But he just fought Christian Leroy Duncan last fight and didn't engage to fight him the entirety of the fight. So I don't know. I think Dana's going to cook up. Dana has a way to make things right with these guys that don't really want to be in the firefight as much as they should. He normally knows how to get them that matchup that's going to give it to him. Christian Leroy Duncan should have been that guy, but we know he's not. He's done lost to RoboCop and stuff. That's a whole other story. And then he came back and got a decision. Like, not that guy no more. Even though he's probably going to win. Either way, I think Dana will do right by Puliev and give him somebody that's going to murder him. I'm good with it.
True. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Puliev did say in his Octagon interview that, he had first fight jitters, he was a little bit nerves. He wasn't able to do what he wanted to do. So maybe there is more to the equation than we're giving credit for, but I'm going to have to see it before I change my opinion because this fight certainly didn't do that.
100%.
All right. Well, speaking of poor records here, Hidalgo Vieira versus Trayshawn Gore. Trayshawn Gore, the other fighter on this card that missed weight, he also missed by 3.5 pounds, had 25% of his purse deducted. And when I heard that, I said instantly, go back to the watch along and hear me talking about this before the fight started. I said, this is going to be one of those weight misses that something went wrong behind the scenes, bad camp, bad cut, whatever it may be, and Gore is going to lose this fight. And I was very accurate in my opinion here on that side of it, but did not think that Rodolfo Vieira was going to come out with the hands that he had. You didn't think Rodolfo Vieira had hands like that, huh? I mean, training with those fighting nerds will do it.
Um, to make a note first, I think they both missed weight here.
I thought that it was just Estevam
Uh, the
and
story that
Gordon.
we were going with in the Discord was that both of them missed. So maybe we were just misinformed, or somebody took a joke and kept going with it. But either way,
I mean,
this
Rodolfo Vera is huge, so I can understand that being the
right.
meme, but I did not hear that if that's the case.
I this fight here. I mean, genuinely, and I mean this with all due respect, Adolfo Vieiro and Trayshawn Gore, you guys put on a snoozer. This one just did not do anything. Like,
Ah,
I don't know what it was because Trayshawn Gore, he can get beat up. in a very, very fun way. I watched it happen with Marco Tullio. He didn't necessarily get beat up here, and he didn't actually, make a convincing argument that he was winning either. So it just didn't feel like anything was really going on, honestly. I mean, 1 for 14 on takedowns for Rodolfo Vieira is pretty nuts. Pretty nuts. But that's basically the only thing that I can tell you. I just when I basically slept through this when I'm watching it, but like I'm just watching two blurs just going back and forth. I can't tell you anything that memorably happened.
Well, see, the memorable thing here was Vieira actually striking and looking pretty decent at it, I would say. I mean, now, granted, Vieira is the black belt jiu-jitsu guy, and that's his big thing. He's the dude that's going to submit people. He's going to take them down. He's going to do that. Generally, that comes with a lack in the striking department. So seeing him actually being able to strike somewhat effectively, I was pretty impressed by, because he was not able to get Gore down. That was the only impressive thing that Gore did in this fight, was his takedown defense. But Vieira was answering nicely on the feet. So I'm glad for his sake that he has improved his striking, because this was a very leveled up version of Vieira when it comes to the striking. But that all kind of comes with the caveat that Gore was out of sorts. I mean, he just looked like off from the start of this thing. Even when they did the opening shot of him where he's just looking at the camera, he kind of had that deer in the headlights look, and it was just carried on throughout the entirety of this fight. So respect to him for his very effective takedown defense, but that's all he did in this fight. No takedowns of his own, minimal striking. He was kind of just a meat sack, which allowed Vieira to get some striking off. So I mean, that's the big takeaway to me, was that the striking from Vieira looked pretty decent. I mean, it was very samey. I will say that he was, pretty much 1-2 shoot for a takedown kind of thing, or 1-2 back off. He didn't really like mix it up all that much, but he's not a striker. So it's like, you work with what you got. The power seemed pretty solid, and he wasn't getting much back. So props to him for making this happen.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, great, solid, unanimous win. But I can't tell you that I was watching this and just and rooting for anybody. Like I was just sitting here saying, "Wow, these are two fighters. Like these guys are just standing at a distance and just throwing punches, the same punches, like you said. I mean, they were just doing the same thing and shooting takedowns, defending takedowns, throwing the same punch combinations, defending the same punch combinations. Like I can't really say that this was the highlight of my day, but
Yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't go that far myself either, but I am a fan of Vieira, because I do think that he's an effective fighter overall. He's another one of those older dudes that keeps on kicking and doing his thing, and I appreciate that when they can do it effectively. It certainly was not a performance that would set the world on fire, but with what he was working with here, I thought that his striking was leveled up, and I like to see improvement for any fighter. It's like, if you see someone doing something poorly time and time again, it's like they should improve that, and then you see them actually improve. Nice, I appreciate
see,
it.
I think part of the issue is Rodolfo Vieira as somebody who didn't utilize his striking before, and then came into this fight and you're like, boom, that's the highlight, is he improved by using his striking. So when I see it, I just see an average striker and an average grappler who can't get somebody down. But I would like to ask this question:
Sure.
do you think, or do you credit the nerds for being able to make that change for Vieira?
It's a good question. I mean, I was kind of joking about that
Does this
aspect of
add
it.
credibility to the nerds that
Yeah,
they like change some? They got a winner out of Vieira. Like, oh, this is the game plan. We gave it to him. What do you think?
yeah, I mean, look, whether or not it was, the credit can solely go to them or not, the fact is that he was one way beforehand and he's different now.
Hmm.
So, if it's fully them or a combination of factors, I don't know, but I do think that there has to be some merit to it. I mean, to some capacity, I mean, like, you go and you train with that team, you come out a little bit different, a little bit better, even if it's not a dramatic chasm difference. I think that there is some credibility to that. So yeah, I would say that the nerds should take a little bit of credit there. Although, funny thing to note, I did have this in the notes as well. At the end of the fight, during the ring announcements, Hidalgo refused to put on the Fighting Nerds glasses. So I don't know what that's about.
Hmm.
A little controversy there, perhaps a curse incoming or something like that. You refuse the glasses and bad luck comes your way. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that is an interesting one. I did not catch that one. What I will also ask, do you think this was, and if we're crediting the nerds, like, oh, he went to the nerds camp and he came out better. Was this more of them? Do you think this is more of them giving him the right way to think about the game plan, or is this they taught him the right tools to win? Because
That I couldn't tell you. I mean, I don't know what his camp was like beforehand. I do know that he is training out of Orlando, so I do have a little hometown appreciation there. But that being said, Orlando not necessarily a city that is graduating a large amount of champions just yet. Not saying that it couldn't be. And I mean,
right,
and obviously, I would love that, sure, for hometown bias or whatever. But I obviously do not take any of that into consideration here. So looking at it objectively, we had like Jacare Sosa as like a big fighter out of Orlando. That should kind of tell you something. Phil Rowe, you
yeah.
know what I mean? So it's like all of that being said, did they what was the special sauce that the nerds gave him? I really couldn't say not knowing the inside dirt on it, but whatever it was seemed to pay dividends. I don't know.
Okay, the last fold of this
Mm-hmm.
is, or do you think the nerds are just going to gain hype and credit for a Vieira win here? Like, oh man, the nerds really changed him for the better, when it's really just a bad performance from Trayshawn Gore.
That's yeah. There's definitely an element of that because this really was a bad performance for Trayshawn Gore. So I don't think that they should be like heralding this as like, man, look what the nerds did
I
necessarily.
think people are starting to do that. Anytime there's an affiliation with the nerds, and I've actually been saying this. I think with Jean Prates, Kaio, and the other one, they don't fight as often as they would like to or as we would like them to, because if they do start losing, that takes away the fighting nerd stigma.
The
So they
mystique,
got
yeah.
they got all these other people to come out here and fight for them now, and when they win, it's like, holy shit, the fighting nerds did it. They knew what they were doing. And then when they lose, they're like, oh, that fucking bum never even deserved to wear those glasses. Get him out of there.
I know.
So
Well, yeah, it's one of those things that's like it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation for the nerds at this point anyway, because they have graduated fighters to such high esteem within the sport and being a recognizable brand within the sport now. It comes with the territory that eventually people are going to lose, eventually things are not going to go your way. I mean, it kind of almost puts a little bit of a target on their back, which I think is a little bit where this is coming from you,
yes,
because I know that you're preying on their downfall for some reason, which I
I
I don't get. But
it's not preying on their downfall. It's just being realistic. Like, they're just not all gonna never lose again in the UFC. Like, I mean, genuinely speaking, people talk about these guys, and I know this is a whole different rant, but like, they will tell you, and they will have the confidence to say that they will beat everybody that's in next line for them. They're all gonna be champs. They're all gonna be this and that, and it's just not realistic. If you think one of them's gonna be champ, okay, I can feel it. I can feel that one of them can do it. If you're thinking two, three, and possibly even four of them, get up out of here. Get up out of here. You're just completely insane, ludicrous, but whatever.
fair. Well, look, whatever they have been doing so far has definitely been working to an extent. So,
Yeah.
as far as this fight goes, I think that you take the win, you take the credit where the credit is due. Only Vieira and them are really going to know how much or little they played a factor in
They
the
probably
win.
ain't do shit. That's why he ain't wear them fucking glasses. Y'all ain't teach me nothing out there. Y'all taught me a basic 1, 2. So
Yeah, really. He's in the fighter meeting, like, don't talk about those
yeah,
guys.
yeah,
Nah, I mean, whatever the case may be. And really, I think you do make a good point though, that who knows what could have been different had Trayshawn Gore actually showed up to this fight, like he did in that last fight. The last fight that he was out, he took a ton of damage in that fight, but he was throwing. I mean, he was effectively, conducting himself in that fight until he couldn't do that any longer. This fight was stars and bars different
yeah.
in the negative way. So, I mean, had it been a different opponent, things could have been a lot different. How much the nerds play a factor, I don't know. All that being said, I thought that he looked pretty good compared to how sometimes he may have looked in the past as far as the striking goes, not being able to get the takedowns and only being able to use that. I thought that it worked out pretty well in his favor. So whatever the reasoning is, good win at the end of the day. And Vieira continues to fight on. And on the other side of that coin, though, as far as Gore goes, I mean, he's been very hot and cold in this sport since he was on Tough. And I don't know how much longer he can stick around doing this anymore, man. I mean, like it's one of those things. People for some reason like have a lot of expectations out of him. I feel like anytime that he comes up, it's like, oh yeah, Trayshawn Gore, he's that guy or whatever. Like, he could be that dude. And I'm like, I don't see it, and I have never seen it. And a standing guillotine of Antonio Tricoli is it looks good on the highlight reel, but it doesn't really impress me all that much. And I've not seen enough out of him impressive to be like, give him another shot, give him another shot, give him another shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. Give him Nicholas Klein and loser goes home, you know?
Yeah, I'm with that for sure. So either way, though, shout out to the hometown hero, Adolfo Vieira, getting the win for the O. I appreciate that, even though I really have no care or bias towards the hometown.
The last thing that I actually would like to throw out there, and this is just because I am a speculatory person, Rodolfo Vieira didn't want to wear those glasses because he went all the way down to the nerds camp and realized there ain't nothing down there but fucking photographers and PR people. Like, they ain't even doing camps down there. They're doing Make-A-Wish shit, and he's over here trying to actually get his game worked on, and Nina Drama's over here and shit. Like, no, no, get the glasses off. No, I paid $3 billion to go down here, and they just robbed me, and they didn't give me nothing. So I think Rodolfo's in the right here, but that's just me.
He walks into the gym and he just sees dudes painting the mural and like some guy over there with the camera filming all the angles.
Yes, yeah, yep.
Ah, well, fair enough then. I don't know what the reasoning for the not wearing the glasses was, but we'll find out in due time, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe. Who knows? All right. Well, moving on to the featured prelim of this thing, Rinya Nakamura versus Nathan Fletcher. Let me start this one off here,
Go
okay?
for it, please.
Where the fuck did this version of Nakamura come from? This dude looked like absolute shit against Moon Gaffrov. I thought I was losing my mind on the watch along here because on the last episode of this show, I had said I thought that Nakamura had some of the worst striking that we had ever seen. And that was based on the Moon Gafarov fight.
Mm-hmm.
Coming into this fight, I literally on the watch along, you can hear me say, oh, did I get that mistaken? Did I mix that up? Was he really bad at wrestling and really great at striking? And then I had it mixed in my head? No, it was him sucking at striking in that fight. He is an Olympic wrestler and did very little of that in that fight. And now all of a sudden comes in here and he's getting liver shot knockouts. I was floored by this. It really was one of those ones where I wanted to like bury my head in the sand because I'm like, how did this happen compared to what we just saw last fight?
It is genuinely hilarious. Like, this is one of the reasons why the sport is pretty funny, is because everybody has the moments where, and I know some people, listen, there's people out there who don't want to admit that they have been wrong and that they pick people that they really like and that they don't pan out. But these are the type of moments that should keep you humble and really bond you with people that lose with you. Because, bro, Nathan Fletcher, I literally watched him on Tough have a broken leg and finish the fight. Okay. I literally watched him in the UFC go through 3 rounds of war with Kalen Lochran just for in 1 minute and 2 seconds him to get kicked in the stomach and just to fall over and die. Like, it genuinely hurt my heart because like I'm watching and I'm like, oh, you could tell it hurt because like you can see his face. He's like, oh, and then it's like, all right, Nathan, you got this. There's your one moment. Now fight through it, and then he falls backwards. I'm like, oh, we're cooked. We're so cooked, and it genuinely is funny, bro, because like, and we're gonna talk about it later, is like, this is why you got to be vocal about your opinions, because anything can happen, and you're gonna look dumb or you're gonna look like a genius. And this is one of those moments where I looked really fucking stupid, but I swear to you, it was so funny because just how instantaneous it was. He walked in, like they had a little few scuffles, they had a few scrambles, and then he puts him up on the cage, boom, gets kicked in the stomach. He's like, oh shit, I'm done. Like, I'm done. And oh my God, I can't tell you, like, losing money, it sucks, but trust me, this was funny as hell. Like, this was so, because you just can never predict anything in the sport to a T. Listen, this dude took an x-ray and had his femur broke or some shit and was fighting, like grappling and standing and kicking, but then one liver shot. And listen, I get it, bro. Getting kicked in the stomach right in that liver, it shuts you down and it hurts. But we've seen people get up from it before. Listen, here's the news, right? So when I went to the UFC in 2014, right, the main event was Matt Brown versus Eric Silva. If anybody out there is familiar with the fight, Eric Silva lands a liver shot like instantly, right in the fight. Matt Brown falls down, and like the ref probably should have fucking ended it, but it's Matt Brown in his home, home state or whatever, so they didn't. And then he eventually ends up winning the fight after 3 rounds of like war kind of deal. But like I've seen people go down from liver shots. I've seen people get up from it eventually. I just wish Nathan was one of those people and it just didn't happen. And I know he's a tough dude. So like that must have been dude, I don't know, man. That's crazy to me, but that's just why it's so funny. It's like you can never just be so you can never be right. You can
Yeah,
never
I
be
mean,
good.
look, liver shots do shut the body down, and it is rare. It does sometimes happen that people can come back from it, but I can't really be too mad at that element of it because
No, I agree.
if you looked at the replay, I mean, like the shot, the thing that was funniest to me about it was that he threw the kick poorly, essentially. Like it was the reason that it hit him so hard was because it wasn't the flat or the broad of the foot or the heel. It was he dug his toes into the liver. That's
Mhm.
why the connection was made. It's like he was kind of like crooking his foot a little bit. He might like that had it not knocked out Fletcher, he might have broken a toe the way he threw that kick.
Yeah.
So it wasn't exactly like a great strike to begin with. It was just the right strike at the right place at the right time kind of thing. So I get that that's why it all happened and I understand that aspect of it. My question then becomes if Fletcher like knew that there was even a possibility of him striking and going for that, like why did he not initiate any kind of grappling early? But it's like it was so early in the fight that how do you even know? Like it was really just a victim of circumstance situation in this thing. And it sucks because it's like we saw Nakamura be so bad before and then now he's got a TKO on the record, so it's like what do you do with that information? But it's the sport is crazy, like you said. It's just one of those freak instances, and it is what it is.
Here's what this proved to me, and I've been on the fence with it for a little bit, but this is proven to me, and this is giving me insight for what this upcoming season of Tough is going to bring for us. Everybody that is coming out of Tough, most of them, I'm not going to say everybody, there's probably one out there, but most of them that come out of Tough, they're not going to instantly be good in the UFC. They are going to have to be journeymen before we actually have a decent, like, resume from them. Like, they're not going to come out, like, we've seen it plenty of times. Robert Valentin, Ryan Loder, Nathan Fletcher, that's just three. Obviously, it's the most three that I can name, but they literally come in the UFC and get smoked. And then these are like the top level of the guys. Nathan Fletcher actually didn't even win Tough, but Brad Katona won twice and got smoked. Like it, the journeyman is just the natural progression for a Tough winner if we're expecting not even a tough winner, but a tough contestant. If we're expecting championship level out of them, like it's gonna take a while. Vince Morales, I don't know if he was actually tough, but he had to make a second stint in the UFC before he actually became relevant. I think that's what these guys' bread and butter is going to be. They're going to have to go through the getting out and coming back in and having that story. Like, man, they were doubted before. I just don't see them having the talent that sticks instantly. Um,
Yeah, I mean, it's there's occasional instances where that might not be true, but basically, I mean, it's not necessarily being a journeyman. It's just going through the normal progression of what a fighter goes through. I mean, like more normal trajectory as opposed to being like, instantly not hot shotted, but like, just rapidly making leapfrog moves.
Well, see, but there's a couple different ways. So like the contender series guys, they get into the UFC and that's like hot shot area. Like that's like you're on the contender series and you win and you get a knockout. You potentially could have 2 wins in the UFC and like you're facing a ranked guy, like somebody that's good, or even one like Malcolm Wellmaker, whatever you want to say. But um there's or you're just not and you're kind of floating in the middle that nobody's really paying attention to you, but that's going to be those tough guys. They're on the spotlight, but they're also like not good enough to get the top competition yet. I don't know. I think contender series is the hot shotting area, and those guys they're coming in 10 times better than what we're seeing the tough guys enter the UFC at, and it's just unfortunate because I like a lot of the tough guys. We get to see a lot of their story, and we get to be real close and personal with them, I guess. And it just sucks that they're not bringing the talent that we need them to compete at. It really sucks.
Well, give them time, I guess. Maybe it's like a stumbling blocks like any other thing. I mean, some of the Contender Series guys go through that. We know that. I mean, a lot of times the Contender Series guys lose their first fight. That's a regular thing. So, there could be more to some of these guys than meets the eye. Perhaps Nathan Fletcher, not one of them.
Yeah, well, true.
So anyway, I mean, as far as this fight goes, though, like I had said, it I don't know what to do with this information now because Nakamura apparently is, an extremely high level wrestler. That's sort of his bread and butter, his claim to fame. We saw him not really do much wrestling in the last fight that he was in and then strike extremely poorly. Now he comes in, gets this. I don't want to call it a fluke because he did throw the kick. The kick was placed well, whether it was intentional or not, doesn't really matter. He gets a TKO off of a liver shot kick. Where do you go from there when it comes to Nakamura now?
Yeah, I can't really say. I mean, another person that is somebody that I know would be nice, but who knows? I mean, we'll have to see what he's actually gonna bring. I mean, if he's somebody that is willing to whip out the tool bag. I mean, he plays the liver kick. You're right. I mean, it was the game plan to kick him in the stomach. If he's willing to change the game plan up from wrestling instantly and keep it on the feet and try to make it creative, I mean, who knows what he's going to do next time? I think if he keeps switching up, not switching up the game plan, but keep adapting what the opponent is going to see, especially when you have 1 minute of film in their last fight. There's not much for them to go off of with like your rhythms and what they're trying to pick up on and what
Right.
some ticks are. So just keep it interesting. If they think they're going to go for the body kick in the next fight, just chop them low and then go high. I don't know. Just be interesting. And I think
Yeah.
he's actually doing a good job of doing that. So.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's a fine point. Yeah. The only other note that I had was that it was it was soul sucking to see the grimace on Fletcher's face when he realized that the liver kick was shutting him down because you
Yeah,
you saw the exact moment that he realized it, and then it's just like, oh no, yeah,
yeah.
down he goes. So anyway, unfortunate for Fletcher. See if they keep him around, but congratulations, Renny Nakamura. Perhaps you're not the worst striker we've ever seen.
Yeah, that one's on
I'll take
thinker.
my L. Yeah, exactly. I'll take my L on that one. All right, let's move on here to main card. Danny Silva versus Kevin Vallejos. Up until this point, would have been fight of the night, but we're going to talk about some other ones going down the line that might have it beat. What'd you think of this one?
I think it's unfortunate that the judge. Well, I listen. I don't know. There's a lot of things to say. I think this fight was very close. I think Danny Silva should have won at least 2 rounds on a judge's scorecard. Then I would have been okay with it. I think all three judges not giving at least 2 rounds is interesting, but 3 rounds to Kevin Vallejos by two judges. It just shows you they didn't even try. Like they literally did not even attempt to judge this fight. They just knew that they were going to give Kevin the fight. It was either going to be him getting a knockout and he was winning every round up until the knockout, or he was going to win the fight by unanimous decision. That's exactly what it was going to be because there's just no way that you don't tell me that these rounds were close. The first round itself, I watched Kevin Vallejos do nothing, and then at the end of it, they try to tell me that he outstruck Danny Silva, and I genuinely still don't believe it till this moment. Danny Silva came out and looked very good in the first round. And I left it saying, okay, yeah, he won the first round. Now we got to just see what Vallejos is going to do and obviously avoid the power. Kevin Vallejos never was able to do anything with the power that affected Danny Silva. He ate all these punches. Danny Silva was walking him down. I think the advancing was actually the most crucial part of this. He was walking him down the entirety of the fight. Kevin Vallejos was just backing up and just sitting on bombs that weren't really landing. I mean, Danny Silva was doing a great job of evading. He was actually, like, when it came to head movement, he was in the zone. Like, all these shots were just right out of place. He was dipping, he was ducking, he was dodging, and his hands looked really, really good. He showed no fear to Kevin Vallejos. And I think when you do something like that, like, there's no way you get a 30-27 if you're big brothering this dude right now. Like I genuinely don't see it. And you can call me biased, but like I, I'm not gonna tell you Danny Silva won, even though I would have gave it to him in my opinion. But like I knew they were probably gonna just be sucking Kevin Vallejos off, and that's exactly what happened here. I'm telling you, the judges did not try with a 30-27. There's no way you can convince me all three. Like I would need justification for how he won all 3 rounds if that's what we're gonna do. But
Well,
I
okay,
digress.
all right. Well, see, I don't want to necessarily like the judges are going to do what judges do. I don't think that there's any bias one way or another necessarily. But that being said, I do think that the the note that they said on commentary about the cornering from Cub Swanson, the GOAT Cub Swanson, by the way, telling Silva not to let his ego take over was the best note that Cub could have given him, because I think a lot of where your opinion is coming from was the fact that Danny Silva was being Marab out there. He was overconfident in what he was doing, and he was definitely in the zone. You're saying about his head movement, all that, like the evasions, absolutely accurate. But I feel like he was kind of letting himself get carried away with being the man. He was being Cody Garbrandt out there. That's the problem with this, is that he wasn't doing enough with the striking to make that valuable to me.
I don't see, and it's not even about the meme aspect, because I genuinely could care less that he was saying, "Yeah, I'm a dog." Essay, like I could care less that that's exactly what I heard heard him say. Like I could care less about that. It's just the fact that Danny Silva was not getting outstruck. Like I mean, he was literally again
In the
walking
first round,
him
I'll
down.
give you that in the first round. First round, I did give to Silva.
First round or not, I mean, the ego thing, we've seen it time and time again, and they give it to Manel Cap, or they give it to Marab, or they give it to Nate Diaz. People like this who they fucking just come out here and they do dumb shit. They steal the rounds with that. I don't think that should have stole the round, because I think Danny Silva was honestly leading the charge here. There's no way. There's no way that you think Kevin Vallejos landed more damaging or more impactful shots. Like, I genuinely did not see Danny Silva look worried at all after any of the punches.
But there you go. You answered your own question, because how he looked versus what was happening were two different things. That's the problem. Is that neither of them were landing knockout shots, obviously. Which does, I mean, if there's any criticism to have, or not criticism, but if there's any question that arises from this fight, is Kevin Vallejos the killer that he has been up until this point? Because he comes in with this crazy record. He's 16 or 15-1 coming into this fight. A lot of them being knockouts. I think he hadn't gotten out of a first round, I think they had said, for a long time in his career. So is he necessarily going to be able to go into the sport at this highest level and be knocking people out left and right? That's in question now. But when it comes to what was actually happening point wise, because that's what you had to go on at this point, is strike for strike. Yeah, I do think that Vallejos outstruck him in those last two, because at one point they had Silva up in one of those rounds, and I was like, that's insane to me. Like, it didn't seem that way, but maybe I don't know. The numbers seem to lie. So both ways, I understand the optics of it, because Silva was making a very compelling case with his body language, but he wasn't doing enough to actually back that up. Because a lot of what you would see from him was he would be there, low hands in his face, then he would do the evasion, and that looks really cool, but you have to follow that up with the striking afterwards, and that's what he wasn't doing enough of, at least not through those second two.
I disagree. I think Danny Silva was outstriking Kevin Vallejos, but
All right. I mean, I watched it twice, man. I'll go back and rewatch it with you if you want. If you want to go point by point.
I think Danny Silva was doing the volume striking that he always does, and Kevin Vallejos was walking backwards and trying to throw Hail Marys. But it is what it is. I think what's the unfortunate part is Danny Silva is a guy who has never lost by anything more than a split decision or majority decision in his career. Now you come in here and you give Kevin Vallejos a unanimous 30-27 on two judges. Now the optics look like, whoa, he didn't knock him out, but he smoked him 3 rounds. I mean, come on, unanimous decision. He beat him 3 rounds, but that's not the fucking case. Like you can understand that I should be frustrated that people are going to say for the future being that he beat Danny Silva 30-27 and there was no competition. Like it's just genuinely not what happened. I mean, Danny Silva made Kevin Vallejos look like he didn't belong, and Kevin Vallejos made it work, but I don't think he convincingly won.
Yeah, see that, but okay. Well, look, I'll give you that on paper, it does not reflect the reality of this fight, because it was a close fight. I definitely agree with that. But I mean, I don't think that Silva made Vallejos not look like he belonged. I think that Vallejos did the exact right thing through all of what Silva was doing. He kept his head down. He didn't let any of the showboating get to him. What I had said about this is that Silva was trying to pull the Mike Breeden, but Vallejos is not on Shul Jubilee. You know what I mean? And that to me is its own value in that. Like, so I understand where you're coming from, being frustrated about like what it looks like on paper. I get that part of it. It does not reflect the level that Silva was at in this fight. You know what he was bringing to this fight. That being said, you got to pair the showboating and the confidence. It was what I said in the notes too, is that it sucks for Silva that they don't score confidence in the fight, because he would have certainly won off of that. You know, he's walking around, hands by his side, face in front of him, like, yo, hit me, motherfucker. Yeah, that is that a level of confidence is impressive, but you have to be striking on top of it. And through those second two, he just was not, my man. Like, not as much.
I'm just still not understanding how this happens, because like, okay, so you have Kevin Vallejos, right? He's some killer on the feet. You're gonna tell me he lands 90 strikes, right? And he won, and he convincingly won the last 2 rounds with his striking, and he landed 90 of them clean, right? Right? That's what the tally would tell you. How is he not some killer if he didn't put him out after 90 clean consecutive strikes, or whatever you want to say? I just don't think the tally is right. If he would have got 90 strikes off on Danny Silva, surely this killer would have put him out.
I
But
mean, Silva's got a good chin. I mean, but that's
I just don't think he was ever hit clean. I don't think that he ever was hit to the point where you're like, man, Kevin Vallejos rocked him right there. And that's what should be winning the fucking rounds. And if not, then getting pushed back to the cage and getting showboated on, that's another layer to it if we want to add to it. You're getting styled on, buddy. I just, listen, I don't know. Danny Silva had a very convincing case, and rightfully so, he should have had his hand raised and been upset about it, because I thought it was as close as can be.
all right. Well, yeah. Look, agree to disagree on this one. I thought that Vallejos, just stayed the course through a lot of mental opposition, I would say, and I think he did the right thing. Silva is got a good chin. We knew that he was going to be able to take a good amount of shots. I think that Vallejos, because I mean, the same argument can be made in the opposite direction too, right? Shouldn't Silva have been putting him out? I mean,
No, no.
it's
We know he's a volume puncher. We know he's got no power. He's harmless. He only goes to decision. So
well,
I
fair. All right,
we
fair enough then. But then, so then my same point does stand though. I do think that this does raise questions about Vallejos going forward. As far as if he is going to be able to be a killer as far as his striking goes higher up in the division. But here in this fight, I'm okay. I'm
yeah,
okay with it, and like I said, we're gonna have to agree to disagree on the specifics if that's how you feel about it.
well, the UFC is gonna know better, because they obviously know not to give him somebody who's decent, like that's gonna actually get through him without the punches that he was throwing. I mean, he was big whiffing a lot of them. I mean, 90 for 230. I mean, that's a lot of missed punches. And I'm just saying they're gonna have to give him somebody that they know he can finish next time to get him back on the hype train, because that's what this was supposed to be. Oh my God, he finished the dude who's never been finished. He only went to decision, and that didn't happen. Now they give him the unanimous decision. Now they got to go back and find somebody that's some vet that's never been finished, and they got to find him on his way out, his retirement fight, but he's going against Kevin Vallejos. Something like that. That's what's going to get Kevin Vallejos back on the train, and I think the UFC is going to do right by him and get that going.
I
That's
mean,
at the end of this, but
bring back Chris Mutino. Have him go up to featherweight. That'd be a
yeah,
perfect one right there, right? If he can put out Mutino, then your hype train has been restored.
yeah, I don't know who featherweight is going to be next for him, but yeah, yeesh, I don't know. This was a performance that was, Prado a couple weeks ago, the other Argentinian guy. I mean, I thought Kevin Vallejos did a little better than him. I'll say that.
You're definitely a hater though, bro. I don't know what this is about Vallejos that you don't like so much, but this
But
dude, he's not bad. Like I don't understand where
It,
this is coming
it's
from.
not that he's bad. It's that he was supposed to be, the next fucking killer. And,
That's just off of the fact that his only losses to John Silva.
exactly. And everybody thinks that John Silva's the fucking god right now. So, if you put the numbers together, people are touting Kevin Vallejos as, oh, he's going to be up there. He's beating the top guys when he's ready. But, like, I don't know, man. I'm going to still have to see it, because I do this. If you are somebody who can beat somebody that I think is a very formidable opponent, respect. I'll give it to you. But if it's close, and if I arguably think that you don't even won, you run it back. You better go finish the can that I'm telling you they're going to give you, and then we'll talk about it. But going to decision and slowing up, in my opinion, we'll just have to see what's next for him. Danny Silva, though, I think again, His next performance, he's going to go in here, go to decision, put on another volume, great performance, probably have the same ego that he's going to have and win, but it's going to be because he's not against somebody that the UFC wants to be in the fucking spotlight. So,
All right. Well, fair enough. Fair enough. Congratulations, Kevin Vallejos.
yeah, no, it was a good win.
All right. Well, let's move on here.
But either way, continue.
All right. All right. Neil Magny versus Eliseu Zaleski dos Santos. This one made me feel great because it is nice to be right, especially after the terrible call on the Nakamura fight. So, yeah, I was very happy with Neil Magny. As I said on the last episode, I was like, this is the exact type of fight that he can win. Dos Santos is good until he is not. He's not even good until he's not. He's okay until he's not. And then he folds. And what did he do in this fight? He folded.
I'll tell you, this was probably one of the worst moments that I had. Not the fight itself, but before the fight. So we had a lot of downtime before this fight came on
Sure.
because we had a lot of finishes. So they wanted to tell everybody their picks on the next fight between Neil Magny and Zaleski. So we go around the round table, right, and we get people that are saying, we got Paul. It wasn't Paul Felder. I forget who Michael Chiesa. He's like, I'm gonna go Neil Magny. Karate Hottie goes Neil Magny. Rashad Evan goes Neil Magny, and this is where I lost it. I was done after this. I said, this is why these people are on TV. I'm gonna quote myself right here. This is exactly why they're on TV, because they will get on there and lie to you. They will lie to you that they want you to believe that this is possible. They want you to believe that it is possible that Neil Magny will win. They want you to flood the books and lose. And then when they come in here and watch this fight, they will see that Chase is obviously an idiot, because Neil Magny can do anything he fucking wants, apparently, when he knees people in the head and Zaleski is just concussed and fucking dying and then gets mounted and ground and pounded. Like, it genuinely is. Again, another really funny aspect of the sport is, like, you could be so wrong. Like, you could be as wrong as they come. But, go ahead.
Not me, motherfucker. I was
Yeah.
exactly right. So if you don't listen to all those idiots on TV, you listen to this idiot right here, because that's exactly what I had said. And I'm telling you, this was very, very clear to me. And I mean, yeah, could it have gone the other way and I would have looked like the fool? Absolutely, it could have. But I mean, really, based on what we have seen, this is one where it's like, I was listening back to an old episode of our show at one point for some research purposes or whatever. And I had made the point on there that it's like, sometimes fighters don't fight how you think that they're going to fight. And that's all based on what you have already seen. The data the data informs your what you're thinking going forward. Your predictions are based on the data that you have. This one, based on the data that we have, I thought was pretty clear, like how it was going to go, and I'm glad that it went to that way, to the data's credibility, because I think that overall it went exactly as it should have. I didn't think that this was like a crazy first round for Magny. In fact, during the watch along, I didn't even think that Neil won that first round. Rewatching it, I kind of saw it a little bit differently, because there was a lot of clinch situations that didn't really go anywhere. So decent little striking for Neil. Good knee in close range. It negated a lot of the wrestling attempts. So I mean, there, for those reasons, I might have given him that round, even if I didn't initially think that he won it. But to the point, I mean, I didn't think that Neil was like looking great through the first round. I was like, oh shit, maybe I'm starting to pucker up a little bit here. Maybe I was wrong about this. Well, and also that he looked a little bit stiff. That's the other thing I did want to mention, that his body language didn't look great. But I think that that's just kind of how Neil Magny conducts himself. He's a little like slightly flat-footed. He also does that kind of jittery, like stomp walk sort of thing a little bit. So maybe that's all of what that was. But second round, Dos Santos gets Magny to the ground. I said I'm a little bit worried there. They both go up and down and up and down. Then Magny lands a good knee to the crouched head of Dos Santos, and he just gets zapped after that. I was like, damn, that one knee really did the whole thing. He rolls himself out of danger not too long by sheer will. Magny gets the back, mounts him, starts banging headshots on either side, and Dos Santos crumbles as expected. And that's where the as expected comes in, because I know that this dude crumbles. He folds. So, you get him hurt, and this is what happens. And if there was anybody, like I had said last week, you're coming in to the sport at a time when Neil Magny is on the backslide, because he is a little bit later in the game. But I remember the Neil Magny that was counted out and could overcome that underdog status. So this was the exact right fight for that.
I think the most interesting thing that I that I had happened during this fight is when I forget who it was. It was a female, but she was. It wasn't Laura, was she? She wasn't on the commentary.
Minty Betts. You talking
Was
about
she
when?
talking about capoeira? Um,
Oh no, it might have been. Maybe it was the little cutie Mackenzie Pavicic, the little
Well,
roving reporter that they have.
this was one of the more interesting things that could have been said. She gets on there and she's like, "Yeah, he's very into capoeira. That was what the slaves used to do. So the guards didn't know that they were practicing martial arts." I was like, I mean, information is what it is. Like I think there was maybe a better way to like throw that out there, but like I'm listening and it's just like, all right, okay.
Sounds like something John Anik would say, you know?
Yeah, like I mean, she definitely took the role right there. Like she had to get it in there, get her one. But yeah, that was interesting. And yeah,
Well, yeah,
Zaleski just
Zaleski's nickname is Capoeira,
yes,
so I guess that's where that was coming from.
yes, exactly. Yeah,
Sure.
but I thought it was just an interesting way to throw the story in there. But this fight, you said Neil Magny lost round one. I thought that was pretty. I thought it was round one Zaleski. I thought Zaleski was actually going to win round two as well up until the ending sequence. And gosh, yeah, that is it is one just unfortunate that we get to see Neil Magny in the win column, and it is
Ah,
too unfortunate that Zaleski really is just not that guy. Like it does suck. I do this. Listen, and I hate to be that guy. Sometimes we get random Brazilians. It does happen with random black guys too. I'm sorry. I'm going to be honest. Sometimes I pick them because they look like Chads, and Zaleski looked like a Chad most times, and he did not this night. So it sucked.
I don't know where that's even coming from because I don't think I've ever seen a performance from this guy where I was like, "That's that dude." Any
He got
aura.
that. He got that wheel kick. That's the first fight that I saw of him. I
All
was like,
right,
"Oh
yeah.
shit, this guy knows what's up." And then people are like, "Yeah, he knocked out Sean Strickland too." I'm like, "Oh, this dude's a fucking Chad," like shit like that. Whatever.
And Rinya Nakamura knocked out Nathan Fletcher. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Anyway,
yeah,
but no, yeah, no. Based on at least more of the data that I had as of recently, perhaps I guess
yeah.
I should say. But going with saying that it's bad to see Magny back in the win column. It hurts my heart because I am a fan of the dude. I think that he is one of those guys that gets counted out time and time again and then pulls off these nice wins. I mean, for a while there, Neil Magny was your underdog money for a long while because it was like he was just dog money every single time, and then he would pull off these wins, and it was like, shit, throw that money on Neil Magny. That's your instant money maker right there. So I'm glad to see it for that reason. Does this mean? I mean, 38 years old now. I guess 37 technically. He turned 38 the day after or whatever, but 37, 38, whatever, like, Dos Santos also not a spring chicken either. So it's like, does this give you any confidence going forward for him? I wouldn't necessarily say that you should go all in on Neil Magny. It really is dependent on who he's fighting. But I'm happy to see it. I always, like I said, the factors that go into this, like you were saying, physique, he looks like a Chad, whatever, toss that out the window. Age sometimes now more legit. I will definitely say that is way more legit, but not always. You know what I
Mm.
mean? We have now seen over the last 2 or 3 weeks 3 or 4 old guys who have all gotten really nice wins.
And
So
old girls.
and old girls too. So you know what I mean? Just all I'm saying. The sport is very unpredictable. This one a little bit more so predictable, I would say, but just always be aware that the wild cards are out there. Neil Magny, I think, is almost a wild card definition.
Yeah, it is what it is. And listen, I talk a big game, but like I do enjoy watching a lot of the fighters that I talk shit about. It is just one of my favorite pastimes. But Neil Magny, again, I would like to see you fight again. Just give it somebody that'll finish you, and then we're talking. Then we're into the
I
popcorn
mean,
eating shit.
how many times does he have to go up against Carlos Praetis? Come on, man.
Yeah, I know, but we'll see another one here soon. He's got
I'm
contender series guys to look forward to.
sure, indeed, yeah, absolutely. All right, well, shout out to Neil for the good win, though. Let's move on to the next one here: Carol Hosa versus Nora Cornole. Nice to see yet again another one where I was like, man, what I'd said on last week was that if Carol fights the way that I know that she can fight, that she should win this fight. And she did. She fought the way that I had known her to fight before, at least in the first round. Second and third were a little bit of a wash only because she was so dominant on the ground. But at least in that first round, I saw flecks of her old self, and I was like, Carol Hosa is back. So I was happy about that.
I don't know if I'm gonna, because what I've seen is hype and then not follow through with it, and then now I've seen, some sort of a bounce back. I'm not going to necessarily say she's back or she's better than what I've seen. I'd have to see it again, but she's definitely on the right track because I was confident in her, and that's what is key. Is I was confident and she lived up to my expectations of her. I knew all she had to do was be just decent enough on the feet and just go for a takedown. And I didn't actually think the takedown was going to be as effective because she got two and it took up 11 minutes of control time. But you could clearly see that Nora Cornell, one is just, I don't know if she's just always out of shape or something. She just doesn't look like she has the cardio to compete. She missed weight last time in her fight. I was honestly expecting her to have trouble making the cut this time, and maybe that is part of it. She's just not naturally a bantamweight, which is unfortunate. That's just the biggest weight class we have for the women. But her striking, it doesn't look good. It's actually pretty crazy. Like every time Nora Cornell fights, I see something different. And it's not in a good way. Like I know she, got the TKO against Melissa Mullins, and then she comes back and she got the submission. And then this fight, like, and that one, she's going from being a killer on the feet, and then she switch up and goes to the submission goddess, or whatever. And then back here, she comes in and tries to be good on the feet again, and she just didn't look anything remotely. And this is probably why she went for the fucking sub and tried to start learning more grapples. And because the striking, she's a Muay Thai girl, and it's just not there. I don't know who taught her or why it's not being implemented greatly into MMA. Maybe she's really good in Muay Thai, but then once she gets here, it's the open cage. I don't know, but it was just not good looking. And Cara Rosa didn't do anything spectacular. I mean, this was just an easy performance that you just got to go in and, like I said, put the suit and tie on and just go get it done. Like there's nothing that I don't know. There was nothing unexpected out of this. Nora Cornell is 35 years old as a prospect. I just don't see that being a long light at the end of the tunnel. I know we're going to talk about women in the age, and it's not that big of a factor. But in this case, I would like to believe that 35 years old as a prospect is the reason that it didn't get done. But I could be
No,
wrong.
I think that you actually were touching on the more legitimate reason earlier in what you said. You know how like they sometimes talk about Derek Lewis being like the last of like the brawlers, like the true
Yeah.
brawlers of this sport. Nora Cornell is the female version of a brawler, but she doesn't have the power to back it up.
Hmm.
Like because what you were saying about her technique is so spot on. Like she's constantly like she's almost flailing out there a lot of times it seems like she doesn't have like a defined game plan and like a structure to her technique. So it's like you'll see on the record, she's the one that got that with the knees, knockout with the knees before, like things like that will happen when you're going out there and just throwing everything at the wall. Like, it almost feels like she's like windmilling. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the strikes are just kind of like tossed around and hopefully some of them are effective enough to like
I'm
be
pretty
the
sure
thing.
she did a hammer fist from over top of her head at one point,
Could have,
standing.
yeah,
Like
it's so it's like it just doesn't seem like there's cohesion in the strategy with her. And as you touched on too, with like her being like a Muay Thai practitioner, like you can say that,
mhm,
and maybe there's some element of that you can kind of like discern from what she does. But like if she is a strict Muay Thai practitioner, the fundamentals of that are not present. So
yeah,
it's like you end up with a whole lot of like a lot of aggression because she certainly does come out there with like the intensity early on. And to your point about her physique and the cardio, that's also very apparent. And that's another reason why I think that she crumbled so badly in this fight, too, is because she has that will, determination to win, the grit. This is what I'm saying. She's like a female brawler. Like, go out there and like throw hands and just make it happen, make it happen. But when you don't have the fundamental technique to back that up, then you end up in the situation like you're in. Your cardio gets zapped, you get taken down and held down, you accept the position, and then for 2 rounds, we have to see Carol Hosa just laying on top of you. So, Nora, like I give her at least credit for being like a go out and get it type of fighter, but you can't just be that. Like it's
yeah.
not enough. The skills don't back that up, unfortunately.
No, I 100% agree. I've never been the biggest fan of Nora, and this is one of those people where I had to listen to a lot of things. Oh, she finished Melissa Mullins. Oh, she just got her first submission in her career. And then when it came up to this one, I was somebody who didn't think Carol Rosa was going to win in her last fight against Eileen Perez. I was a big non-believer in Carol Rosa. And this one, I just had to believe that she could be a very generic opponent that could give a little of everything, that was just technical enough to just outlast the wildness from Nora. Like that's really all she is just a little wild ball of fury, but she doesn't hone in on it good enough, you know? It worked in the low levels, but here we are.
Yeah, no, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, that's really all that I have for this fight because it was like, yeah, first round, some good shots both ways, good low kicks from Nora for a little bit there, and they both had some decent strikes in the clinch. Other than that, I mean, those last two rounds, I mean, like, you basically just take to a bathroom break at that point. I mean, it really was just Carol Hosa on top. The one thing that I did say about that though is that Hosa needs to be able to finish on the ground when her opponent is letting it all happen like that. That should be the takeaway there. Is it's like you had, like you said, 11 minutes plus of control time or whatever it ended up being on the ground. Like, get the sub. I mean, she wasn't doing hardly anything off her back. Like, you should be able
Yeah.
to secure that head and arm, or transition to an arm bar or something. I'm always surprised, especially in a fight like this, when they don't even go for the arm bar attempt. And I know that it's risky for a lot of like higher level fighters if you're in like a top down, belly down control situation to then transition over to the arm. But like this was the prime example of like if you had gone for the explosive motion, grabbed that arm and cranked back and gotten the submission, there's a highlight off of that. Now, this is the most forgettable fight that we're ever going to talk about. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it was not this fight that I initially had the thought, but I remember this fight. I was thinking like, yeah, that's exactly the point that I'm making. You know, a lot of people they can stuff that first takedown, and then when it's like, and then they get up and it's like, boom, and then they're back to the feet, and then the second one comes and it's like, well, fuck, we're going down. Like we just give up, you know, and that's exactly what happened with Nora. She got the first one and she got up, and then the second one came and it's like, boom, 5 minutes on the mat. Like that was the end of it. And I don't know, and I do agree with you, Carol, with how much experience she had on the mat compared to Nora. She probably should have went for a little more submission over position and just went for it because I'm gonna get back on top. Like there's nothing that she has for me on the ground that makes me think I can't finish her. So I should be a little more risky. I agree.
Right, right. Yeah, exactly, exactly. But so yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, that's really all there is to say about this. Decent striking in the first that made me feel like, oh, Carol maybe is making a little bit of a resurgence compared to her previous performance, and then a whole lot of control. So,
Yeah.
congratulations to Carol, and Nora needs she needs to get the pieces of the puzzle put together is really what it looks like to me. If she's going to hang in this sport, like you can still get wins, especially when it comes to the ladies. Sometimes at the lower levels, like they'll throw a first timer against her and she should be able to beat that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there are people coming into the sport that she should, with her style, be able to beat, but the ceiling is very low when it comes to what she does, unfortunately, because she's just not strong enough to be the type of brawler that she is in her mind.
Yeah. No, I agree. It sucks. I mean, like I said, not the biggest fan of Nora, but I do wish that she has a decent comeback because female finishers aren't very prevalent. So she might necessarily be one of those. So we'll keep the tab on it, I guess.
Well, maybe her versus your favorite Priscilla Cachueta would be
Oh,
there's something.
there we go.
All
She has a
right.
fight coming up, actually. So
Oh, does she? I didn't even know. Okay. Well, great.
Angela
Um,
Hill,
oh gosh. Yeah. Well, that's
it's
actually not a
this
bad
week.
fight. Oh yeah, yeah. All right. Well, we will talk about it then, won't we? I think I should probably have known that. Actually, I did know Angela Hill had a fight, so I didn't realize that who it
I
was.
think that's who it. I could be wrong. I don't
All
know.
right, well,
We'll
we'll
see.
talk about it. But all right, moving on to one of the better fights, if not the best. Sadly, this is where we're spoils of riches over here with some of these wars that we had on this card. This is Elvis Brenner versus Esteban Ribovics. And before we get into that, just wanted to give a big shout out to Mr. Rage Quit. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for checking in.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, this one was definitely, it was certified banger. I can't tell you why this was on the Apex. I mean, I I don't know. It really does hurt that Esteban Ribovics is being shelved to the Apex. And Elvis Brenner, to be honest. Like these dudes really did put on a pretty good performance. They gave a good comparison for Elvis Brenner. They were like, he's kind of got like that Tony Ferguson kind of to him, where he's just a little unorthodox at everything. So I kind of like the comparison. Esteban Ribovics, though, becoming one of my favorites. I mean, genuinely one of the coolest dudes. Doesn't really give a shit. Walks in and he's grade A hook spammer. Like he plays UFC 5 out there. Like he just spams hooks. And he's so good at it because he can do it for 15 minutes. I would love to see him maybe do it for 25, like that would be awesome. Give him a main event someday against somebody good and let him put in that fucking work. And what's also cool about Esteban is he will eat shots too. He's not a very evasive fighter. He doesn't block shots. He doesn't move his head. He just eats them to the chin and just goes for it again. And that's what I love about him. This dude is just one of the most Chad fighters that we have on the roster. He represents Argentina so well. It sucks that he hasn't been able to replicate the finishing ability that he had on Terrence McKinney, like that instant, that instant sequence that dropped him. Because Esteban is just one of those dudes that's guaranteed for a decision. But if you watch him, you would know with the right opponent, he will finish them if they quit. Like if they are a quitter, he will make them quit. The last people that he's been fighting, I'm surprised Daniel Zellhuber made it as far as he did looking back. But Elvis Brenner, what a Chad also. Esteban Ribovics, give this dude a main event. I'm telling you, if he's going to be in the Apex, I better see him in the main event next time. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody, all of the tweets that they were putting out during the broadcast, Bisping said it afterwards. I think that everyone is of the conclusion at this point that Esteban Ribovics is must-see fighting over here. I
Yeah.
mean, this dude is so dynamic. What I really was most impressed with in this fight was not only all of those hooks that you were talking about, because this guy is normally more of a kicker, like you'd said. He knocked out Terrence McKinney with that beautiful head kick. He was not really relying on his kicks nearly as much in this fight. He was really going in with his hands, and what a sight that was to behold. I mean, really, really doing crazy work up top. The output plus the power was impressive. But the thing that impressed me the most was the countering. His
Mhm.
counter is just so solid. His speed and timing is just really, really, really sharp. Very impressive against a very, very tough Elvis Brenner. I've been a big fan of Elvis Brenner for a while. I think I even said last week how I was like, man, they just keep putting Brenner up against killers because they know that he is a tough dude, and he's going to
Yeah.
make it entertaining. And that is exactly what we got out of this. The one note that I did have, I heard what you said about the Ferguson. I heard that on the broadcast too. I don't necessarily see that 100%. I think that I kind of understand a little bit of why Bisping said it at the moment that he did, because I think he said it around the same time that Elvis Brenner overswung and swung himself out of his shoes. That was a little bit funny. But I think that there are things about how Brenner approaches the fight that maybe they're it's almost minor tweak stuff that could make him a lot better. One thing that I noticed about him in this fight and his last fight is he is way too comfortable off of the back foot. He's a heavy striker, but he almost allows himself to be back down so that he can kind of do that lunging forward while you're coming in on him, and that
Mhm.
sometimes can be effective. And I think he probably had some good results from that earlier in his career, which is why he still does that. But he needs to be a little bit more confident walking forward, and he's doing it. I understand why. You got Esteban Ribovics across from you. It's a little bit intimidating, I would say. But I think that there's potential for him to get the upper hand more if he was a little bit more assertive in that way. So it's just things like that I think allow him over the course of the fight to fall back a little bit, especially when you have Ribovics doing such good work.
Yeah, this one, it's just a tough matchup for Elvis Brenner. I mean, Esteban, so good at walking forward, so good at just never letting punches stop. If you remember Renato's more recent fight, he was so tired in that fight, his arms did not throw punches.
Yeah.
Ribovics literally just does not even have that effect. His arms are just gonna work. It's a really crazy thing to see. This fight and the next fight, the pace that two of the people, Ribovics is one of them. The other one we'll talk about in a second. The pace that these dudes have is genuinely scary. They could just walk at you and throw whatever they want for 15 minutes. And you even saw Ribovics. I mean, he didn't throw the kick as much, but even late into the third round, the high kick was still really fucking flush. And I actually think he landed one of them really flush that kind of wobbled Brenner. But Ribovics, man, I'm really, really hopeful for this dude's career. And we sometimes see it, and I'm not saying this is one of them. I can't tell you the scenario that I'm talking about that we've seen it before, but we have people that get finishes earlier and then they round out to be decision guys later on. Sometimes we get decision guys and then they round out to get some finishes later. I'm thinking Ribovics might be able to do something like that. If you give him an extra 2 rounds, he is going to make people quit. I'm telling you, this dude is that good.
I agree. No, definitely. I mean, it's only like there's only a select few people on this planet that I feel like are of Elvis Brenner's like caliber to be able to take the punishment that he took. And this is actually kind of word to Joel Alvarez for being able to finish Brenner. Like that's,
Yeah.
think about the potential fight there with Alvarez and Ribovics at some point. God, that they salivate thinking about a fight like that. But like you have to be cut from a different cloth to be able to hang with the output of Ribovics. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, and that's just a credit to Brenner as an athlete, just to be able to do that. But Ribovics, I mean, it's just like you're right. I mean, he's just a machine out there. Like there was one moment early in the second round where Elvis was like pumping the jab out and Ribovics was just swamping him with like 3 hooks in a row. It was just like a 3-piece. And I was like, that right there, that little moment to me was very emblematic of the difference in the power and the volume that Ribovics was displaying. Like the output is just, it's next level. I mean, like
Mhm.
it's really something else. And to have a guy like that being like the next wave of the sport, it gives me great confidence about the caliber of fights that we're going to get in the future. Cause seeing that at this level against a very, very game Elvis Brenner, I really would class Elvis Brenner as one of my favorite fighters at this point, even in defeat. You think, wow, he's
Yeah.
coming off of 2 losses. Like, wow,
Right.
how could he be a 3? There you go. So, I mean, it's like, but you see the way that he conducts himself through all of that. He was so exhausted midway through the second round that he slipped and stayed on the ground, which is never a good look. And usually that would be a thing that I'd point at, like, oh, that right there, that's how you know that he's not great or whatever. But like seeing what he went through to get to that point and to still come out in the third round swinging, what a
Yeah.
G this guy is. You know what I mean? So it's like you got two very solid fighters for different reasons going at it. It's one of those fights where there really is not a loser, even though there has to be. In my opinion, anyway, this was a 3-round war between these two. Elvis Brenner is the fucking man, but Ribovics is the better man. And you're gonna get fireworks out of a Ribovics fight. And to your point about him being able to finish, it has to happen. I mean, there's not going to be so many people that are going to be able to do what Brenner did in this fight and withstand all of that.
Yeah, 100%. Ribovics, I think, is one of these guys that is. It sucks that he's in the lightweight division, but honestly, I think he might just be one of these guys that can make it interesting. Not that I'm saying he's going to go ahead and beat Ilya, but any of those top guys, you put him in front of him, and the takedown defense looked pretty good in this fight too. So, I mean, Esteban, and that's actually where I thought a lot of people were surprised. A lot of people were like, "Hey, remember Brenner's a grappler. He's just going to get him down and sub him." And it's like he never even had the opportunity. He couldn't even get a double leg, couldn't get the single leg. Everything was shut down from Ribovics. I mean, 9 attempts is pretty nuts to not get one, and against somebody who's just a striker. So really, really great by Ribovics. One of my favorites. This dude, such a Chad, represents Argentina so fucking well. Love this
Yeah,
guy.
exactly. Argentina, you've got somebody to fly the flag in the men's, and you've of course got the ass shaker in the women's. So,
Yeah.
Argentina's doing just fine as far as fighters go right now.
And if you heard that stream, he did not bring up that Kevin Vallejos as anything to be to note in Argentina. But I digress. We'll continue on. Ribovics and Eileen Perez leading the charge.
Eh,
So
I'm going to leave that right there. But yes, shout out to Esteban Ribovics for a fantastic performance. I would definitely, the list is growing and growing. I'm going to put this one on there. We'll talk about the next fight here that might edge it out, but I would say that this is at least a contender for fight of the year, I would say.
yeah, I was gonna say the Vallejos fight was like at the time fight of the night, of course, because not much happened, but this convincingly did steal that. Like it unfortunately wasn't even close. Like that should tell you the level of performance that we saw at it. Like Danny Silva and Kevin Vallejos put on a decent prelim fight, but like this was like venturing into all time kind of status. Like at least top 50, kind of, something
Oh
like that.
yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I agree. I agree. And then, and how crazy. Like I said, we got very spoiled on this card because if you
Yeah.
thought that that was going to be the top of the heap, then going into this next one is like holy shit.
Yes.
So yeah, next up was Mateusz Rąbecki versus Chris Duncan, the Scotsman. And I had asked last episode, is Chris Duncan really about that life when it comes to the striking? And boy, did I get my answer in this fight.
Yeah, I agree. He did look very well. This was, and we do have, shout out Tosh. He's a big fan of Khalil, and I know you guys want to talk about the chess master performance that he put on in his most recent performance. But this was genuinely a chess master evisceration by Chris Duncan, and 30-27 is pretty nuts. I actually thought the fight. This should have been a split decision. The first round definitely went to Chris. He gave him a big old lump on the head. Then they get a head clash, and Dom wants to say that the knot was from the headbutt, but it wasn't. It literally was from a punch. The knot was there before the headbutt. Then Chris Duncan steps in with an elbow, slices him right in the forehead. Now he's bleeding all over the place. Rebecci has already left the car crash. That is first round for Chris Duncan, easy. Second round, I would say could go either way. You can't really tell any noticeable damage difference between any of them. It was just kind of a standard performance. They were standing and banging, but nothing really of uh, not convenience, nothing of interest happened really. Second round was pretty cookie cutter. Third round, then this is where you get Rebecki, who actually makes the epic comeback and gives Chris Duncan the car crash face, leaves him all busted up on both eyes. So I really don't know where 30-27 came from, because if Chris Duncan won the first round for damage, then how did Rebecki not win the third round for damage? Very, very, very weird. I don't know where the judging was, where their heads was at on this one. Definitely should have been a split. No 30-27s either way. Rebecki, though, I know I talked about Esteban Ribovics and his fucking pace and just the way that he can just walk down forever. Rebecki has one of the scariest paces ever. This dude, he walks forward. He's got a very fast, jittery movement to him too. He's always feinting. He's always lunging. He's always throwing shots. He's always checking kicks. He is genuinely that dude. And shout out Chris Duncan for being very good at looking at film, because late in the fight with Miktabek, he was doing the step in elbows and he was landing so clean, because Rebecki is not the type of dude to step out of the way of shots. He's just going to go full force and eat him right to his face no matter what happens. And if it's going to be an elbow, that's going to cause way more damage than a punch. And shout out Chris Duncan for making that read there. Rebecki, though, I think one judge should have gave him the nod, because this was a very, very close fight. But Chris Duncan butchered this man's face, and it probably could have even been stopped. But that's just my opinion.
I mean, I think Dom made a very good point on the commentary, saying that we got lucky that the doctor did not stop it from the gash that was opened up in the first round, because, or it had opened up even further by
Yeah.
the second. The amount of leather that was getting tossed in this fight was just out. It was insane, the pace on both sides. But so yeah, we got lucky that we ended up getting a third round out of this, and thankfully so, because this was just, you talk about wars. I mean, this is Mateusz Rąbecki, who we were just talking about his fight with Miktabek Orolbai, not too long ago, as a potential fight of the year for that year, and comes back and does it again and loses again. It really is like almost similar to Elvis Brenner in that regard, where it's like, man, it sucks. Yeah, I agree with you entirely about the 30-27. Throw that out the fucking window. But either way, 29-28, I did think was the correct call in this fight. But talk about something that does not tell the story on paper. I mean, this guy goes out there and is just a smashing machine of him in his own right. But then, to take the damage that he takes and to keep pushing forward constantly. I mean, like there's never like a thought in his mind that I might be out of it, or I'm going
Yeah.
to I need to retreat. I need to be more defensive. It's like I am in go mode at all points during this fight. I'm going to put it all on the line for every second of it. And hopefully at the end of it, I get my hand raised. That's just such a rarity in human beings. I mean, this is like, you want to talk about what separates like the men from the gods when it comes to this sport. Like, I don't give a fuck if this guy loses or does not lose. He is a goat as far as
Yeah.
like for that alone, the toughness that you have to be Mateusz Rąbecki is just next level. On Duncan's side, I mean, he really did show to me something that I had not seen out of him up until this point. I always thought that he was good. I was not necessarily sold on him being potentially great. This fight, it definitely changes my mind. And when you say, yeah, it was like a little bit of a chess match between these two, it's like, I mean, a fast paced chess match with a whole lot of damage going both ways. And he was able to navigate all of that, even through that third round. And him coming out at the end of all of that and saying, yeah, the pain and the damage is all cosmetic because, this is what you do. This is, the toughness that you have is what carries you. I was like, that's the exact mindset that you should have after what you just went through in a fight like that and getting your hand raised because of all of this. So I between these two guys, this I didn't even really have that many notes because it was like I was just transfixed on watching these dudes continuously going into the fire, taking the shots, giving the shots, and laying it all on the line. It was just a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah, I will admit Chris Duncan's post fight speech. It did kind of, I wasn't like, I do like Chris Duncan. Like, he's cool. Like, I mean, but he's not like anybody that I'm necessarily the biggest fan of. But the post fight speech was decent enough that it's like, okay, I at least respect that he knows that he's in this for a fight. Like, he's not here for anything else. He just wants to be a fighter, and I respect it. Let's go out here and get some more fights for him. Hopefully, it's. I mean, dude, if Rebechki is the best that they've given you so far, I mean, I don't know if there's another dude out there that I would say is that kind of scary to face. I mean, if they give him Rebovix, I mean, we'll see, but.
That's what I was just going to say. I mean, the craziest thing about the two fights that we were talking about, this one and the last one, is that they were both in the same division. So
Yeah,
conceivably, all four of these guys could, there's a combination of anything between them. Potential other matchups there. I mean, it definitely bodes well for the lightweight division in general. And having two of these guys both go through wars like that and come out there on the other side, good things in the future. So, who knows what is going to end up happening going forward with lightweight now. I mean, a lot of guys at the top are phasing out. We just saw one of the, perennial favorites for many, many years retire, and Dustin Poirier. I mean, there's a lot that can get shaken up there, and these are the guys that are going to do the shaking up. So, yeah, Chris Duncan, Scotland, fly the flag high now. He can be the Highlander. There can be only one, and Paul Craig, you got to go, brother. I mean, that's just the way it goes. There can only be one true Scotsman here.
yeah, I agree. I agree. Chris Duncan is doing pretty good. Um, what's next for him? I'm really excited to find out because I mean he does seem like he's gonna put on a performance anytime that he's out there. So I respect that portion of it.
He is the man, as he would say. So
Yeah,
I appreciated it. Great fight. Another, like I said, fight of the year contender, no loser. Mateusz Rebechki, it breaks my heart for a guy like that to have to lose and to have it on the record. Same with Brenner. It's just the nature of the game, sadly. But this is why you have to watch these fights. This is why
yeah,
you have to be in this sport to know what the true deal is. Because as you were saying with the Silva fight, doesn't tell the tale on paper. You see a fight like this, that Mateusz Rebechki is the man. You know what I mean?
yeah, yep.
So
I remember rewatching the Mictebek fight before this one, just so I could truly understand what I was going to see with Rebechki, because that was a fight that I watched, a while ago, and what I saw then was like just one of the scariest opponents that you could ever be matched up against. I mean, not like I mean, genuinely, there's nothing that he can't do well that I've seen. Like he kind of gives you the Dan Ige vibes. Like this is a guy that is just any matchup you throw at him, he's gonna figure out a way to make it gritty, and I respect the hell out of that. So
yeah,
that's what
you
I
you,
love.
ha- you have to. You really do. So great fight. Again, added to the fight of the year list. So competition is getting fierce on that list. So we'll
Hell
see
yeah,
what the end of the year looks like going forward. But as for the end of this card, let's talk about this main event here: Tatsuro Taira versus Hyun Sung Park. We were pretty spot on in our predictions as far as this one went. Sad to say for Mr. Park, but little fun fact: this was the first all Asian main event in UFC history. So it seemed kind of wild to hear that out loud. But then once you I guess once you think about it, it
I
is like, yeah,
mean there was a co-main event that was China versus China, so I guess you're right, but I mean.
that's a co-main, not a main.
Yeah,
So
but I know, but like, I mean, you're pulling hairs here. I mean, it was the second fight down. I mean, and it could have been if you would have just put it on the China card later on in the year instead of putting it on 300. So whatever. I mean, I agree with you.
Whose name was on the marquee?
I know. I get you.
But yeah, so
No, no,
whatever.
actually, it wasn't even anybody's. It didn't say Alex and Hill.
Yeah,
It was just UFC 300.
no, I
But
was saying, well, and
whatever.
it's something that we didn't even mention on this, but I guess is good to point out is that even Park's name was not on the marquee because Amir Albazi was supposed to be in this fight.
Yes,
But so this was Asia versus Asia by happenstance. But
yes.
either way, history there. And before we get into the specifics of the fight, do you want to talk a little bit about the walkout?
Yes, oh my gosh. So Hyung Sung Park comes out and he's coming out to it's Coldplay, right? Is that who this is?
The
Yes.
right, yeah. Park was walking out to that Coldplay song
That
there.
very, very, very famous Coldplay song, and it's funny because the camera's all up close on him, and he's singing the song, and
Knew the words.
yeah, you could hear him singing the song, which is really funny. It's like, man, that's adorable. Like he really loves this song, man. This is his moment. He was like, this is it. I'm gonna kill it. And then Tatsuro comes out, and my gosh, the music is so funny because I don't know what it is. He's basically listening to We Are the World. And it was really, really funny because like Tatsuro is such a nice guy. Like I would expect him to come out to something like this, but like the fact that he does and it's not like some hype music, it's just like, can't we all just get along type music? Like they're singing Kumbaya and he's walking out. It's just really funny.
It was power to the people, man.
Yeah.
I appreciated the sentiment. I was like, I think even on the watch along, I had said, "Is it Black Lady Smith Mombazo over here?" I said, maybe he saw the Lion King and said, give me some of that. So
Yeah.
I liked the power to the people song. I thought it definitely sticks with me. I tell you, every once in a
Right.
while during the day, I'll just be like, power to the. I'm like, okay, there's something there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was. I'd seen on one of the shit posting groups, someone said this is the gayest walkout that I've ever seen in my life, and I don't think that is the truth, but I somewhat understand where the thought process was. But either way, these two gentlemen made it to the cage, and then thereafter, it was pretty much the Tatsuro Taira show. As we kind of said just a moment ago, I mean, we didn't really think that Park was having much of a shot in this fight. Bit of a sacrificial lamb, and sadly, that was what ended up happening here.
I already had told you guys Tatsuro is one of the most skilled people in the division when it comes to prospects, even though he's been here for a decent amount of time. But this is exactly what he needed to do, and all he did was showcase that you give him somebody, and he will finish if need be. And it was, I mean, it was easy. I mean, 13 strikes, and you finish with a little choke or a neck crank, whatever you want to say. I also thought what was funny about this is after, so he taps, right? And he's sitting up, and then the ref comes up to him and he's asking the ref what happened. And I'm like, you didn't go out. Like, I don't know. Because the ref told him, he was like, it was a neck crank. He's like, it was a neck crank. And I'm like, you had the choke on you. Like, I'm confused on but I don't know how it works. Whatever.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy because yeah, he didn't have it under the chin. It was a face crank basically that did it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, really, I guess it shouldn't be a surprise, right? I mean, based on what we had said coming into this, like nothing that happened was surprising. I think maybe the only surprise was how effective Taira was, and by extension, how ineffective Park was. But he got hot shotted. It wasn't even a hot shotting. He was a victim of circumstance.
Yeah.
You get the call. It reminds me a lot of Ikram Alaskirov. You know what I mean? You get the call. What are you going to do? You're going to turn it down.
Yeah.
You're going to turn down the potential to change your entire life, to enter the rankings. At such a high spot. You have to do it. This is Park was not wrong to do this. It's unfortunate that he was in the position that he had to be put in because of this. But that all being said, Taira is just a different animal, man. I mean, what I had said about him on the watch along, I think is very true. Is that aside from the striking, he gets those two shots. The two straight rights that dropped Park and then smothers him. And what I had said was that Taira is an octopus. This guy, it's like he has extra limbs and he absorbs his opponent. Like he gets his hands on you and it's just he latches, like because there was the one time where he ended up getting into the backpack and it's like before that, he was already all over him. It wasn't like that he had to like grab onto him from a distance and then reapproach. It was like he was already on your back, like sucked onto you like a suction cup. And then wherever you go, he is just going to follow you. He does not let up. He is relentless. And
Yeah,
it's amazing.
it's actually a really good point. And it's not that he actually has extra limbs, if anybody's listening out there. It's not that he is an octopus, but he is very good at utilizing every one of his, like, it's
Right.
not that he's, using his arms and going for the choke. It's no, he's got the body triangle locked in, and, he's making sure he's transitioning with him. Anytime he wants to turn, he's ready to let the triangle go, float to the next position on top. He's just genuinely a world class grappler when it comes to this sport right now. I mean, I can't tell you many that do the grappling thing better than him. Pantoja is very good at the division, but we never see him in the scrambles where he's having to like grapple against somebody. He's normally just mauling them with his grappling. But Tatsuro he's not always in the position where he's favored to, be the one to win the grappling sequence, but he normally does. And it's pretty interesting the way that he figures out how to do it. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just it really is very impressive to watch him work. He's one of those kinds of fighters that it's like if you're following along in the sequence of events, you're like, man, like we went from point A to point Z, and everything in between was just a really perfect set of
yeah.
movements, a perfect set of motions. Like he's just got a very next level fighting acumen and grappling acumen that you just don't see often. So to see him do it here was, it was, even if it was expected, it was still impressive.
Yeah.
And I mean, there was the one moment where he, like I was saying, he was on the back as he so often is. He's backpacking, standing, and Park went for the slam, and that's a very risky move often. But he ended up surviving that, thankfully. But I mean, like that was really the only major point in this fight that like Park had any like momentum of his own, and that's kind of crazy to say, but that's the level that Taira brings to the fight.
I actually don't think it was a slam by Park. I think Tyra just yanked him back. Like I think he just drug him to the mat because like the way that it looked, Tyra like because Parks, I know like his feet came from under him, but I think Tyra like was yanking at his like with his leg with the body triangle. I think he had him hooked, and then I think he just grabbed his and yanked him really quick. I think that's what happened, and I think Tattoo because the way that he fell, it's not like it looked like he was ready for it, obviously. Like he was braced for impact and like there wasn't going to be any rolling after it. Like we're going to land and I'm still going to have the position. And I think he was locked in, just throwing him down with it. But I could be wrong.
No, I mean you very well could be right on that. I mean, either which way, it is one of those things where it's like if you are doing that intentionally as the person who's getting backpacked, you're running a very big risk. So he is lucky that he even made it out of the round after that. But it on the Tyra side, I mean, great for him to be able to land in a way that he didn't get himself knocked out. If he had fell flush on the back of his head, that could have been a concussion. So, just again, it's all of the elements, things like that, things that you wouldn't even think about because it's like, oh, whether or not it was intentionally or otherwise, if he goes down like that, you have to be ready to take that impact, and he was,
Yeah.
I mean, so it's just all of the small elements that make this guy so great just came together in here. And again, it's an unfortunate victim who was way out of his element, didn't really show anything in this fight, so it's unfortunate, too much too soon for Park side of things. But with that, this is like Austin Boshi showing the same thing against John Giannis over there. If you have a blank canvas, this is how you set yourself apart in this sport as elite. If you're going to have an opponent who's not going to be giving you anything back, then you go out there and make it the you show. So
Mhm.
Taira does that. He made it the Taira show because it was completely that through a round and a half.
Nope, I 100% agree. Tyra is obviously, to me, he should be in line right now after Josh Van. Whether Josh Van wins or loses, it should be Tyra. And whether he should have to wait for it or should he wait for it, that's not for me to decide. I would love to see him fight again very, very soon. But if he wins again, he's literally for sure gonna have to be next in line for the belt. It's a fresh matchup, and he is well deserving with the skill set and the resume that he's bringing. He's in the UFC and has 5 finishes. So
Yeah,
like,
I mean, I think that the only issue is that it's almost unfortunate timing just because he is coming off of the loss to Royval. So it's like, yeah, you get one. It's almost like how Justin Gaethje's asking for a title shot after his last win, where it's like, hey, brother, we're just going to forget about the rest of the stuff before that. I mean, really, I think that if they do want to put him into that title shot, perfectly fine. If they make him fight the loser of that fight, I think also perfectly fine. Either which way, it can't be far off, especially since now Van and Pantoja are going to have the
Yeah.
fight. Like, who else right now is going to be even, like they get a hot shot somebody else. They're going to try to get Amir Albazi to come back into it. Get Amir Albazi just out of the equation altogether at this point.
Right.
He should have to fight his way back up. And I wanted to ask too, I don't know if we checked the rankings yet, but did they give him his rank?
I am not sure I'm not sure yet. If anybody's out there listening, make sure to let us know in the comments if Tatsuro is now ranked third or some shit. Because that should be, well, second is what Amir would have been, but there's got to be some sort of shakeup. I can't imagine you put Tatsuro over Brandon Royval, but it is what it is.
Yeah, so we'll see what ends up happening with the rankings based on what we saw there. Who knows? It might be one of those things where they're like, well, Park was, out of his element, blah blah blah. And then they don't do the right thing by him. But hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully Tatsuro ends up getting a bump off of that because he deserves it.
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, I mean that pretty much is the whole tale there. That is UFC Fight Night, Taira versus Park. After talking it through, Chase, what do you think?
It was all right. It was an okay card. Good topics, good discussions. Obviously, a lot of passionate moments from either side of us, and I appreciate the banter. But this one was definitely not something that I'm going to go ahead and remember as like the best Apex card ever. I will remember Rebovix and Chris Duncan's performances and Mateusz Rebecki, and I will remember that Danny Silva arguably beat Kevin Vallejos for when the future comes and people are telling me that Kevin Vallejos beat Danny Silva unanimously. Like, oh my God, he's that guy. He's that good. I won't believe it. I'll have to see it again. But yeah, I mean, 7. Okay, this has got to be an 8 out of 10 because normally we only get one war like on a card, maybe two. But the fact that we got two really good ones, the main event ended with a finish. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can take into account of why this was a good one. So I'll say 8. I'll say 8 for an Apex.
I'm going 8.5, closer to a 9 than an 8. I
Okay.
thought that this was really, really good. I mean, like if we're talking like a 10 out of 10 is UFC 300, then this, yeah, I don't think that maybe like a 9 is
Yeah.
necessarily appropriate. But as far as an Apex card goes, man, we got some great fights in the Apex. People need to not be so hard on the Apex.
Yeah.
But this was, I mean, to have two fight of the night, or excuse me, two fight of the year contenders on one card for no matter where it is, that should instantly, I mean, again, closer to a 9 than an 8 in my opinion. I really enjoyed this card. I was very happy with it.
I find it interesting in this sport specifically because you said that Rebovix, obviously Chris Duncan falls in this category as well, Tatsuro. These are must see TV kind of guys, but in a sense, we get to see them for free. Like we get to see them because it's not a pay per view. So what's the what are you feeling about that? Like they get on an Apex and like you're like, man, this is must see TV. They need to be on a pay per view, but like in a sense, it's like the more people are getting to view them because it's not a pay per view and they're not having to pay for it. I would say,
Well, yeah, but I mean, this is yet another reason why it's so important if you are a fan of this sport to be watching these cards. Like
yeah,
that's always the point to me. Even the worst card in the UFC's history is going to give you information to take forward.
yeah,
The worst card is going to tell you I don't need to worry about any of these people. Cards like this are going to tell you I need to make sure that I tune in for this guy's fight next. And if it is on a pay-per-view, now you know why he's on the pay-per-view. And it should also be a signal to you as well that when you see a pay-per-view and you're like, why the hell are these guys on main card? That lends credibility to you having skepticism. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, why I fucking Patricio Pitbull back on main card when I just saw Esteban Rebovix almost kill a man. I mean, like,
right,
that level of incredulity comes from being aware of these things. So always value, in my opinion.
yeah. I hear you.
Yeah.
This was okay. I mean,
How much? Before we end this, though, how much of this is coming from the fact that you lost money?
I didn't really lose that much money though. Like, I mean, I put a tenner down and it went away with Nathan Fletcher not going to decision and winning by split. And, you know, I laughed that one off and had a good time. Like, I genuinely, if I lost a lot of money, I mean, I'd probably be a little more happy about the card. Like, I would probably have better things to say, and because I don't know. But it's not that I lost money. I just did not like. I like fights, and I see good fights all the time. And I told you there was good fights on here, but I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that Piero Rodriguez put on a fucking absolute banger. Like, it's just not happening, guys. I'm sorry.
All right. I thought that fight was good. I liked Austin Bashi. I'm telling you, man, there's some good highlight stuff on here. There again, if you go down the line, yeah, a couple of them make it so that it's not like a 10 out of 10 or even
Yeah.
really a 9 out of 10. But yeah, I say 8.5. I'm that if God, if we could have 8.5s all the goddamn time, I'd be the happiest man in MMA. You know what I mean?
Eight to nine main card prelims. They got saved. They're lucky we had 2 fight of the years. Is all I'm saying.
All right.
Estevam, you are lucky, buddy. That
Yeah.
Esteban saved you. But
True,
anyway,
true. I'll agree with you on that one. Well, let's see what next week's, or actually this week's card
yeah.
is going to be looking like here. See if we can have another potential decent Apex card. This is UFC Fight Night Delitze versus Hernandez. Of course, that's Roman Delitze and Fluffy Hernandez there, Anthony Hernandez. What are you thinking about this fight, sir?
This is one of those times where I like a fighter, Anthony Hernandez, and I think Roman Dolizde is the opponent that worries me. And I think this is the opportunity that if he gets through Roman Dolizde, I know that he's ready, that I know he is ready to go. Because Roman Dolizde, man, he gets a lot of flack. And I don't know why. It's probably because he's Georgian. It's probably because he's not like the greatest finisher ever.
Why
But
would him
like,
being Georgian have anything to do with him?
I
Rob's
don't
the
know. You can
champ.
say that about any region. You know, it's probably, oh, it's because he's American. Oh, it's because he's in,
Okay,
anything
all
you
right.
want to say.
So it's
But
just
like,
you're just saying it's some random reasoning that doesn't.
it could be anything. I
Okay.
genuinely don't know. It could be his age. It could like he is, in my opinion, he is decent enough that like when he comes around, I know that it's not a boring fight. I know there's potential that he could finish. I've seen him finish people. He steps up on short notice when you need him. He'll go up a weight class. He obviously likes the middleweight. That's why he hasn't been taking his short notice bouts. But when he stepped up against Anthony Smith, that was a good indication. Like, okay, he knows what he's. You hear Anthony Smith on the table, short notice, go for it. I don't care if you got to go 2 weight classes for it. He knew that was the opportunity to get his name back in there. And at 37, this is somebody who doesn't fight like a 37-year-old. And I know I've said this before, and I've been fading a lot of older fighters, but I think Roman Dolizde is just not that guy. I think he's decent enough that makes Anthony Hernandez in a 5-round fight be worried, because the first round normally Fluffy's losing. And if Roman Dolizde can have a very good, convincing first round, I mean, this dude is not like, he's not some easy guy to deal with. When he wrestles, he injures people. Kevin Holland got hurt. He like tore Derek Brunson's fucking leg off. Jack Hermanson got caught in the calf slicer and then TKO. Like, there's just different interesting things that Roman Dolizde I've seen him do. And I think Fluffy, we've seen him compromised and be hurt early in fights. And yeah, he's weathered the storm, but Roman Dolizde is a vet, man. I don't think he's going to let him off the hook. If he gets him hurt, it's not Roman Kopylov where he's going to take a minute to breathe and then stand up and then get taken down and choked out. Roman Dolizde, hey, he'll smell the blood, I think. And if he gets him to that, Anthony Hernandez needs to be to the point where he's not getting body shot TKO'd almost in the first round every fight. But if he is, he better come back and have a good 4 rounds after that, because Roman Dolizde is tough. That is a tough dude to beat because you got to get physical with him. So
Yeah, no, I would agree that Delise gets an undue amount of criticism, hatred, whatever you want to call it. Like there is a decent amount of like meh, you know what I mean? Like just a kind of an unaffected feeling towards Roman Dolidze. I mean, the guy is 15-3. I mean, that's a pretty good record. He's done some pretty good things. You just laid out a good amount of them. I don't necessarily like fully. I think it probably is something to do with him being a little bit boring. I guess some people would say, but the highlights that you just listed are pretty good. So where is it all coming from? I don't know. I mean, because I'm kind of in that same camp. I've always just sort of he's just like kind of hovers. You know what I mean? That's just how I've always thought about him. He's just sort of there in the conversation, but not really. You know what I mean? Like one foot in it, but one foot out of like being relevant, so to speak. that may come back to bite a lot of people in this fight. Hernandez on the other side, you know exactly what you're getting out of him. So, I mean, it's one of those situations where there's really, I don't think that he's going to be pulling any tricks out of the bag that you haven't seen from him before. So, if predictability is something that you factor in, then you know exactly what you're getting there. So, conceivably, Delite does too. Um, that being said, is it one of those deals where Hernandez is just going to do exactly what he always does? You know exactly what it is, and Elite is not going to be able to have an answer for it. That's going to be the big question here, I would say. I mean, we've seen Hernandez. I think that Hernandez also, one note that I did want to make is that I believe that Hernandez has the same thing that Pantoja has, that we've talked about this a couple of times, where it's like he looks more exhausted than he actually is. So the cardio might not be as compromised as you might think due to his body language. Like the Michel Pereira fight is a great example of that, because he looked so gassed in that fight, but went 5 full rounds of grappling the dude. So
Right.
what does that tell you? You know what I mean? So all of those things being said, my gut, based on all of those dynamics, would say, yeah, we've seen Hernandez do what he does against Brendan Allen, who is, also a decent grappler, decent wrestler. That's generally what he's known as. Hernandez was able to best him. Can he do that again here? My gut would say yes, but I think you're making good points about Delete.
Yeah, it is a tough one, I will say. But I think Roman at plus 270 is not the worst you could do, because he should be able to make it interesting. If anything, if there's no finish, it is definitely 2-2 going into the fucking fifth. But I think what's also key to note is this is a majority decision loss over Imavov for Roman Deliste, and that actually kind of ages really well. I mean, getting a
Very,
judge to
yeah.
to say you won, that's fine by me.
No, no,
So
yeah. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah,
no,
but
you're good.
I agree completely. I mean, a loss to Imavov that's even remotely close at this point, knowing where he's at now, yeah, definitely ages well. Yeah. All of that being said, then I mean, I'll trust my gut on this one and go with Hernandez. But it going a different direction would not be surprising based on all of that, because like the thing that you always have to remember is that these boring fighters, or people who are perceived as boring. I don't even want to necessarily even say that they are boring. It's just, if that's the perception that you have, those are the guys that have to work 3 times as hard to claw their way up. That's exactly how Bilal ended up with a belt. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So Delete, he's said plenty of times that this is his run. He's making a run. He wants the belt. He wants to be a champion. So if that's where his mindset is at, and he knows that the age is working against him, then he might be trying to pull out all the stops. So this is exactly who he needs to beat in order to prove that.
yeah, I agree. This will
So
be a fun one.
who you taking then?
I'm gonna take. I'll on the podcast, I'll take Roman Delise right here.
All right, there you go. As always, ladies and gentlemen, Chase and I are streaming to our individual channels, youtube.com/@Yama Show, youtube.com/@CP Smalls for Chase. Go to the channel that you think has the better picks and leave a like on the video.
Hell yeah.
All right, moving on down the line. The co-main of this one is Steve Urseg and O'Day Osborne. O'Day coming in on short notice. Am I right about that? I think
Yes.
so. Yes.
Yes, because this was supposed to be Mr. Park, I believe, that was going to fight
Right.
Steve Ersteg.
There you go. Yes, indeed. And I, as I have mentioned a couple times, I follow O'Day on LinkedIn, so I get a lot of my O'Day Osborne updates from LinkedIn, and saw that he was taking this fight, and I was like, hey, good on you, O'Day Osborne.
This is just very cut and dry. I mean, this one is so easy. I mean, O'Day Osborne is one of the flyweights that has genuinely cannons for arms. When you look at this dude's biceps, I mean, they're massive for a flyweight. This is a dude who dropped the lazy boy in the first round. Whatever that dude's not Rolly Rodriguez, something Rodriguez. I forget his name. He hasn't even fought in a while, but he dropped him in the first round. Arguably beat him, but the judges gave Rodriguez the win at the Sphere. And then in the next fight, we had the Contender Series guy, Luis Garule, who got eviscerated by O'Day Osborne just like magically after just a couple rounds of nothing. And then this one right here, I think O'Day Osborne is going to just starch Steve Erceg. I mean, they tout him as a grappler, which I think is interesting now that he's had some very good striking performances, O'Day Osborne, that is. And they're like, man, this advanced grappler, he's going to get with Steve Erceg. It's going to be some roll. It's going to be great grappling, great scramble. It's like, I think he goes out there and bombs him. Steve Erceg is just too susceptible to strikes now. I don't know why he thinks that he can keep coming in here with people that can punch. I don't know. It's
I
crazy.
mean, he didn't. He thought he was going to be fighting Park, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
but he still took it. He still took it.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, Urseg still believing in himself, believing him to be the person that he kind of fell into being in this sport. You know what I mean? We've talked about it plenty of times on this show about, how odd of a career Steve Urseg has had in the UFC because of the circumstances with him getting a hot shot title shot and then not winning, but still, doing well enough to maintain a rank and everything that we've already talked about there. Where I think that really what we're seeing now is the unfortunate truth of the caliber of fighter that he is, especially once you put him up against a variety of styles. Like that, I think is a big part of this story, is that you've now seen him up against guys who are a little bit more versatile than you may have seen him before. Like, the fighters that he fought leading up to the title shot, I don't think gave him the same looks and the same things that he had to anticipate and deal with as what he has been fighting on the other side of the title shot. You're talking about Brendan Moreno. Like, I mean, that's a very versatile, very well-rounded, very technically skilled fighter who's going to give you a lot of different things to think about. We saw what happened to Urseg in a fight like that. Ode Osborne, I maybe not on the same level as Brendan Moreno, but I think similar in the well-roundedness, the versatility, the creativeness. Because Ode Osborne's always a guy that I think of when I think of creative fighters. He's got a lot of, we talk about tricks in the bag for Fluffy Hernandez. Maybe not there. Ode Osborne, I would say that it potentially would be.
I think the worst part about this matchup is that we are going to once again have to see Steve Erceg, when his opponent's hand gets raised and he's got that look on his face that he's just let everybody down, and then they shove the mic in his face, like, all right, Steve, what you got to say? And it's, well, guys, I just wanted to put it all on the line, shit like that. And like, that's the worst part about it, is if he loses, we genuinely have to watch basically him say, I'm not good enough, and this is it. So
Yeah, and really, I mean, again, tracing his career path, like to see him go from where he ended up and then the slide back down it's one of those ones that it's hard to it's like, why did they do him like that? Is
yeah,
what I think. It's hard to see in the big picture based on everything now, because it's like, man, I mean, Steve Erceg, maybe there was more that could have been had things gone differently and had he not had the shot and had things, had he had a more normal path upwards, perhaps, like, but it's just sometimes that's the way that it goes. And so he's a unique case in that regard. Will that be the story here? I mean, who knows? Ode Osborne did get knocked down. So, Urseg does have power in his hands. He still does, I would say. I hope that Urseg is confident enough still to advance and to let his hands go effectively, because I feel like he gets in his own head. And also, we talked about his cornering too, and I don't want to go too deep into with the family ties stuff and all of that, and because obviously him training with his family is something that he takes seriously or whatever. I don't know if it's been helpful to him, and if he continues down that path, it might be another repeat there. Hopefully his family has been able to get into his head to say, look, you need to go out there and be the guy that you think you are, because you still can be that guy.
right.
And that's what I hope for him in this fight. Because if he can go out there and put on a vintage performance, put on a performance like you did before you got the title shot,
I,
then
I
maybe
think
we see it.
I think it's funny that vintage is the word you use, is because, like, bro, this ain't some vet that's been here in like for
I
some
know, you know
amount of
what I'm
time.
saying, though.
Yeah, I know, I get what you're saying, but I think it's just funny that, like, Steve Erceg is one of these dudes that for just no reason that people just expect to be great, and then like they just keep throwing him the opportunities that, like, yeah, if he was great, he would definitely get this one done. And it's like, maybe Steve Erceg is not as great as what we believe a split decision to Pantoja back then was. I don't know. Um, it just sucks that I keep having to see Steve Erceg in opportunities that I don't believe he's going to win. Like that is the hurtful part of it. Is like, why do they keep doing Steve like this? Why do they want Steve to be in the biggest light getting finished by these people? Like, I don't know. It's pretty hurtful.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that right here, right now, if we had said before the Moreno fight that that would be the nail in the coffin of the Steve Urseg experiment. This absolutely will be if he loses this fight, because I mean the circumstances here are so perfect for him to prove which side he falls on the debate. You've got a very skilled fighter coming in on short notice who is good but has not been able to himself break into the upper echelons necessarily, or at least, you know, is maybe still working his way towards that. So I mean, if he is about his shit, this should be a win for him. If he is not, then I'd say that, yeah, you know, we do have the answer that we've been looking for as far as the quality level of Steve Urseg goes.
Yeah, I think all the signs would lead you to believe that Steve Urseg gets this done, but I think in typical fashion, Steve Urseg's going to let everybody who believes in him down. And
I
I'm just not the I'm not I listen, I'm a big hater. You guys know this. But Steve Urseg is not somebody that I genuinely dislike or that I root for. I mean, I'm very indifferent about him, but he got hot shotted. They continue to give him opportunities that are not necessarily warranted. He gets finished by a dude who's not necessarily the cream of the crop, who gets a title shot, who gets finished by the champ, which you didn't even get finished by the champ. And now you have Ode Osborne. Again, short notice. You've had a full camp. You're the more experienced guy when it comes to the higher level of this division. You should get this done. But I think that's exactly where it just won't happen. Steve Urseg just won't be able to get it done, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm less of a hater. I always liked Steve. You know, I mean,
You can
he's
like him all you want. I
no,
mean,
that's the thing is it's exactly. But I mean, I'm you know to you got to
yeah.
acknowledge the reality of the situation is what I'm getting at. So yeah, I mean, I like Steve well enough, but this is the last straw really when it comes to like, is there potentially more for him? I would say. I mean, if he loses this fight, it's mid-level for the rest on out, I would say. And you know, Ode is the exact right fight to be the barometer of that. So it pains me to say that I think that Ode is going to come in here and handle business, but I do. So I
Yeah.
agree with you. I think that we're both in the same camp on this one. Ode Osborne taking the win.
100%.
All right.
And I lied to you earlier. It was not Angela Hill, but she is on this card. She is on this card.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, no. Yasmin Lucindo versus Angela Hill is the fight next up here. So what do you think of this one?
I think Yasmin Lucindo coming in at a fucking favorite is diabolical for how she performed in her last fight. Angela Hill has actually been on a resurgence. She's been saying she's ready to get this belt, you know, and she's been doing some really good stuff. Um, I can't say that I love to bet on her, but against Yasmin at a dog, I mean, is Angela Hill ever going to be the favorite against anybody? I don't know. Like, but Yasmin definitely does not deserve to be. She's 23 years old. She's been doing professional MMA since she's like fucking 14 or some shit like that. But she doesn't have the natural instincts that would lend you to believe she's been fighting for her entire life. Like, she's not somebody that you could see as like cold-blooded killer. Like, she's no Carly Judice. Like, let me tell you that. But I think Angela Hill, I think she'll win this one, probably by decision. But
Well, Angela Hill is, you know, I call it Angela Hill syndrome.
mhm.
You know, she is the prototype of the fighter that will win when you think she's going to lose and lose when you think she's going to win. She is the definition of betting poison, as far
Yeah,
as I am concerned. So I will be staying away from betting on this fight. I'm
as he
going
bets on Neil Magny, by the way, guys.
who, hey, Neil Magny, I that
Look,
if
he
you
doesn't have anything to say.
no, what I was going to say is run the data back. I think that was a galaxy brain call on my part when it came to Neil Magny. Neil Magny that's a different story altogether. Against Elizeu, give me a break. Give me a
I
break.
hear you. I hear you. Continue though.
But
Continue.
anyway, no. As far as Angela, like I said, I am staying away from this fight because I have to listen to my own advice every once in a while and not bet on Angela Hill fights. That being said, do I think Angela Hill should win this fight? Yeah, I definitely do. And if she is talking about wanting to get a title, if she's talking about, you know, being the 40-year-old woman who's going to be able to defy the odds and be the one to overcome and all the spiel, then this is an absolute win fight that she has to win. I mean, she
Yeah.
can't. There's no way, two ways about it. You got to win a fight like this. Lucindo, I agree, has been underwhelming. I can't really like pick out any standout thing about her that would be like that's the thing that Angela Hill should be worried about. I think veteran status should be the deciding factor here. I think Angela Hill has seen 1,000 Yasmin Lucindo's in her life.
Right.
So, yeah, I got to believe that Angela Hill wins this fight. So that being said, Lucindo's going to win the fight.
Yeah, there you go. I'll take Angie Overkill Hill.
Same. I want to see. Like, I am a fan of her as a person. I think she's got a great personality. She's a nice girl. It's always the fact that every time that I put my faith in her, it never goes that way. So I'm going to stay away from betting, but I am rooting for Angela Hill.
Right. No, I hear you.
All right, moving on down the line. Andre Touchy Feely versus your favorite Christian Rodriguez. Don't like this fight.
Why not?
I don't particularly care for either of these guys at this point. I think Feely has had so much time in this sport to become better, and 24-12 is exactly appropriate for the level of fighter that he is at this point. Andre Feely is coming off of that guillotine submission loss. Am I wrong?
To
I
Melly
think
Costa.
exactly to Melchizedek Costa. And I'm like, how are you 24-12, been in this organization forever? I mean, I feel like Andre Feely is one of those dudes that's just been around since the birth of UFC. Like he's always been there in some capacity, and you're getting jump guillotine submitted by an essential newcomer.
Yeah.
So, so that's on Feely's side. On Rodriguez's side, I've never been super sold on him either. He's just the guy that can beat the new guys. So I don't know. What do you take away from that? I mean, Andre Feely's way more veteran status. He should be able to take on anything that Rodriguez is putting out there. But what ends up happening, I don't know.
Yeah, this one's a tough one to call because they're both insanely inconsistent. They have that Angela Hill syndrome. They will perform when you don't need them, and they will not perform when you need them. But this one's a tough one. I'm going to go ahead and say Christian Rodriguez has to know that his career, the reputation that he has is going to precede him if he does not fit. If he doesn't beat Andre Feely, people are going to know that he's just a bullshitter, bro. Like you're literally just here maybe for a check, B just to fuck around. Like you need to have some goddamn grit and fucking have some aspirations because Christian Rodriguez has a skill set and he's able to do to make a fight something that it wasn't going to be. With Bashi, like he was able to just spook him out of his feet, and Bashi had nothing for him. And the way that Christian Rodriguez can take over a game with just something as subtle as doing a little foot stomp and psyching him out, like things like that are why he could be so good and so effective. But if he's not able to utilize those and he doesn't understand that he could be better than Andre Feely, then I don't know. It's just a tough one to call. I'm going to go with Christian Rodriguez, but it's a tough one.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason that I'm going to go with Andre Feely on this one is because Rodriguez has had tougher times with opponents that are more seasoned.
Yeah.
But that's really all that it is. And Feely coming off of that loss that we just talked about does not give me great confidence in that. Him being a plus 205 in this also does not give me a very much confidence. But it's the only reasoning that I have based on the fact that I just don't have much confidence in either guy.
Yeah, I hear that one. Yeah,
So,
I'm gonna go with Christian though.
all right, fair enough. Yeah, and if he wins, I would not be at all surprised. It's
Yeah,
one of those kinds of fights too, where it's like it's a bit of a wash as far as like what I think is going to happen because the consistency is not there. So,
yeah, 100%.
all right, moving on down the line, Miles Johns versus Gene Matsumoto. Now, this is a fight that I do like very much.
I don't think I love this one. I think Miles Johns will do exactly what Miles Johns does and goes to decision and skate by with a split decision win, probably because he doesn't do nearly enough to win decisively, but he does just enough by playing on the outside and being evasive enough that he's going to point strike all the way to the decision. John Matsumoto probably will not be able to make it too interesting because the reason I say that is I've seen Miles Johns against people that I'm like, oh, they can make it interesting. They're going to actually get through. They haven't. Miles Johns, he plays it too by the books. He does not go for anything that is too crazy and too risky. He's going to do that quote unquote chess master fucking performance where he stays on the outside, pops you up a couple times, leans in, drops a straight right, couple hooks, but he's never going to engage where he's going to get like seriously in danger. So
Well, that's actually why I like this fight, is because I think that this is a great opportunity for Matsumoto to go and push past that, push
Hmm.
past all of those things that you just listed out about Miles Johns. The grit that he showed in the fight with Rob Font, I think that he can replicate pretty well. I mean, that was a very close fight. I mean, like,
Yes.
that him and Rob Font was a tight one. I think that Rob Font, again, veteran status takes over a little bit, and that's what kind of pushed him through. Just having a little bit more, a little bit more acumen in the sport. But Masamoto is still building up that credibility, building up that fight IQ over time, kind of thing. This is going to be a great exercise in negating the things that your opponent leans on,
Yeah.
the crutches that your opponent has. Like, this is a prime opportunity for Matsumoto to kick the crutch right out from under Miles Johns. Go hunt him down. If he is going to play on the outside, you push forward. That the black line is right there at the edge, where the marking on the outside of the cage. If he's going to play behind that, you go right up to that line.
Right.
I think that this is, and Matsumoto is the type that will do that because he's a dog, dude. I mean, that dude is tough, man.
Yeah. No,
So
I agree with you. I just think Miles Johns has the performance that we would normally see judges give an easy unanimous decision for, but I could also see judging being on its head for this card and Miles Johns having his hand raised and he's like, "Whoa," like, something stupid like that. So,
I mean, that's always a potential, of course. So yeah, I mean, in in Bizarro World, there's always a shot for Miles Johns, and I don't think that Miles Johns is necessarily a like as evasive as we're making him out to be. I do think that he will kind of go after it if he is comfortable. Like, that's one of the things that I think is unfortunate, is like I do think that he has like a good amount of go after it, but only when the circumstances like are exactly right for it.
yeah.
I don't think that Matsumoto is going to give him that opportunity. So, all things considered, if Matsumoto goes out and hunts him down, then Matsumoto gets this win. I would be pretty confident in picking John Matsumoto.
I like that one. I'll take Johns though.
All right, hey, I like it. Go for it.
All right.
All right,
Who's
Eric
this?
Anders versus the aforementioned Christian Leroy Duncan. Duncan, who won his last fight but was really not great in it, versus Eric Anders, who has just been I like Eric Anders. He's got a good story as far as him overcoming addiction problems and all that kind of stuff. But as far as him in the cage goes, man, it's just hit or miss.
Yeah, this is a dude who just retired, Chris Weidman, and if it should give you any indication, they matched him up with Chris Weidman, so that should probably tell you that he's not necessarily the greatest. Christian Leroy Duncan, though, outside of one boring performance that he won, mind you, he's a finisher and he's pretty damn good. He did lose against RoboCop, but against Eric Anders, I mean, this should be a finish all over it. I mean, this is easy. So.
I I don't know what was happening with Duncan in the Puliev fight,
Mhm.
because he just really looked like he was coasting, and I gotta hope that that was what it was that he just wasn't taking the fight very seriously. He knew that he could skate by to a decision. He wasn't trying to go out there and have a barn burner for whatever reason, even though that's what you
Gotta
want.
get a
But
win in front of the hometown
I get sure, if that's
because it was in London.
was it?
It was in the
I thought
O2.
I thought that. Oh, what? Oh, yeah. I guess it was, wasn't it? Okay. Yeah. For some reason, I thought that was an Apex one, but you're right on that. I would think. Either way, whatever the case is as to why he was fighting the way that he was, I just hope that he does not do that here, because
Yeah.
Eric Anders is still a guy who can go out there and swing. I mean, like, he's going to gas out by the third round. I mean, that's going to happen. He's going to start, petering off probably about midway through this fight, I would say. I mean, 38. Eric Anders wears 38.
Yeah.
I'm the first guy over here to be championing the older guys, but when it comes to Eric Anders, I mean, the age like wears on him, and I think the cardio is definitely fading pretty fast with him. So if Christian Leroy Duncan can go out there and like just be the man, then this should be open and shut. If he's going to go out there and pussyfoot, who knows what's going to happen?
True. I think he'll go out here and finish. I have no doubt that Christian Leroy Duncan will come back and get a vicious finish. It'll be a creative strike because that's what he loves to do. So that'll be good.
I think that Eric Anders grapples him a whole bunch, and it's a boring decision win, but still Christian Leroy Duncan gets the boring decision win.
Hell yeah, let's go for it.
I don't know. That's what the gut is telling me. But I mean, again, just do better. Don't let it happen. Is
Yeah,
all I'm saying. You know what I mean? Because you remember the RoboCop fight. I mean, RoboCop was clinching him a whole bunch. I mean, like
yeah,
that's a big reason why RoboCop was able to get his game plan off, was because he would clinch him and then it was bombs after that. He negated a lot of the movement of Christian Leroy Duncan to the point where it allowed him to get his striking off. So if Anders can do that, I mean, I'm not going to say that it's an impossibility. I'm just saying
yeah.
that, So anyway, but yeah, I'll also go with Christian Leroy Duncan.
Hell yeah. This next one's good.
I know. Yes. So this is somebody, actually, shout out to eMoney J, who checked in earlier, who was saying that I was crazy for thinking that Julius Walker could win this fight. This is Julius Walker versus Rafael Sakaria, right?
Yes, and this is a dude who got knocked out back to back in the first rounds by Ibo Aslan and then Modestas Bukauskas. Julius Walker is going to walk through this guy. There's no doubt in my mind. Julius Walker arguably should be the 12th ranked light heavyweight in the UFC right now because he beat Alonzo Menifield, but they did not want to give him the judge's nod on his debut. Pretty ridiculous, in my opinion. I think Julius Walker is one of the more standout prospects that we have at the bigger divisions. And he is somebody that doesn't have the hype of like a Taliesin Teixeira, but very well might be just as good. So that's just
See,
my opinion.
you're very high on this guy, and because I've heard you say things like this before. I don't know if I necessarily saw the same things in him that you saw out of the performance in the Menifield fight. He did fight very well. I'm not saying that he didn't fight well. I think that fight went exactly correctly. I don't think that it was a robbery or anything like that. But I do think that he is good, and he should definitely win this fight.
It was a short notice bout against the 12th ranked guy, and he
Yeah.
went 3 rounds and had the judges pick who got it. And I think that should tell you enough right now. Same thing happened with Fatima Klein. Short notice, she comes in up a weight class in high altitude and she puts on a performance that makes the judges question. So
No.
I think that's all Julius Walker really needed to do in that performance. And that just proved that, he has the will and, he has the determination. And if he puts the time in to work on his game, which I do follow him on socials, and it does seem like he's, into whatever he's doing, but we will never actually know. So I just think if he comes out here, he should get a finish. I was expecting him to get a finish in the Alonzo Menifield one because this was shortly after Menifield got knocked out by Olberg. And 26 years old, Julius Walker might be a problem at light heavyweight.
Yeah, no, the stuff that you just said, that all tracks 110%. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you. Coming in against a ranked guy, short notice, all of those elements. Yeah, he definitely held his own for sure. And Sakaria, who we, like you just said, I mean, knocked out twice. We've never really, I can't remember a time that this dude like really had a performance that I was like, God damn.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something farther back that I'm just not, I'm not latching on to. But like Walker stuck out in my mind. Sakaria does not. I mean, this should be a good win. This should be the win. Like Fatima Klein was a great example. This should be this version of that for him, where it's like, yeah, it didn't go your way against a ranked opponent first time out, all of those factors, but you come in here against a more even quote unquote evenly matched person, or at least evenly on status wise, paper wise evenly. This should be the place where Julius Walker starts to come into his own. And I didn't realize that he was so young, that he's only 26, but that also lends itself beautifully to this. This should be Julius Walker's coming out party, his big moment in the sun.
Hell yeah.
I like it. Well, another one who, is potentially hot shot in the making, perhaps. We'll see if he can have a big moment here. Elijah Smith going up against Toshiomi Kazama. Kazama is a dude that I remember talking about a while back because I said that this guy is ferocious in there. He's not one to be counted out because 11-4 maybe doesn't tell all of the story there. And I don't think that he even won the fight that I was talking about him being like a little vicious little dog in, but like this is a scrappy dude. So Elijah Smith, like he's a huge favorite in this fight. And I understand why Elijah Smith has been having a lot of success. He is a newer guy coming in and has been doing very well in his time in the UFC so far, but don't think that this is going to be him just walking through this guy. Cause I remember Kazama because he made me remember him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Elijah Smith, Swift Smith, very fast, very elusive. I think he's going to do the point thing. I don't think we're really going to have much of a thing. I think you might be right. This dude might have some dog in him and he'll walk down a lot of shots, but Elijah Smith is somebody that's going to play the outside. He does. In his more recent fights, he has been susceptible to stop and then like wait, and he's standing idle and trying to counter. But if he's able to get on his bike and play it, Zalal, Larone, Miles Johns type of game, no problem. Elijah Smith should just piece him up on the outside, and that's what he should be doing with the speed that he has. Generally speaking, like he's so fast. You don't need the power. You just need the precision with the speed. You could be good.
Well, see that, and there you go. That leads perfectly into my next point, though, is that Elijah Smith sometimes I feel gets a little bit reckless, and
Hmm.
I'm not saying that Kazama is going to be the guy that's going to catch him and be like the one to expose those openings, but someone might at some
Yeah,
point. So just be aware of that with Elijah Smith. That like he take, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't take risks and when they're calculated and they make sense to do so, but like at sometimes it's just like I just remember there being points where I was like, man, he's doing a whole lot, and it felt like it might be a little bit. I don't know if it was flashy or if it was more of just like him being a natural risk taker, is like that confident, whatever it may be. He gets a little bit out of the lane every once in a while, and eventually that's going to come back to bite him. It might not be in this fight, but sometime it could be the deal. Here, I think he probably should have the performance that people are expecting, but I just like I said, don't count Kazama out. Like I even might just go crazy on the heavy underdog on this one. Fuck it, for show
I mean,
purposes, why not?
he's 22 years old, so it's not out of the realm to think that he could get just, a moment that he's just too ahead of himself. So I don't think it's a bad dog. It's not somebody that I would necessarily say I would always be preying on his downfall, but this may be not the one that I would think is going to happen. I could definitely see it for coming up, yeah. But if he shows improvement in the holes that I've recently clocked on him, then I don't think I have a problem saying that he should be okay going forward.
No, and I would agree with that. I mean, and I'm also not preying on his downfall or anything
Yeah,
like that either. I think he's a fine fighter and will become even better. Um, you know, I think that partially where my thought process comes from is because I think that since he is such a rising star, quote unquote, or he's got a little bit more of a buzz around his name, that people don't have that same association with Kazama. So it could be one of those ones where it's just like blindsides everyone.
yeah,
Like I think they get blindsided by it. So for that reason, I think that like I said, for show purposes, I will go with Kazama on this one. I'm not, I don't. This is definitely not like lock it in, put all your money on it kind of situation. But like you said, I mean, they're a fighter at his level, at Smith's level, at this phase of the game. This is one of those ones that you come back later on and be like, how did we not see it coming? You know what I mean? That
right.
kind of thing. So
Yeah,
potentially, but I don't think that it's necessarily going to go that way. But for the sake of variety here, I will put my favor in Kazama, because if there's anybody that I think could have that major upset with a line like that, minus 800 to a plus 500, that would be one that would stick out to me.
yeah, I hear you on that one. I'm gonna go with Mr. Smith on this though.
Yeah, I think that's probably the wiser choice, but like the stream that you think is is more based.
Oh yeah,
All right, moving on
there
down
we
the line.
go.
Oh, the fight of the night potential here. Jocelyn Edwards versus Priscilla Cachoeira. This is the fight that you were talking about with Cachoeira. Oy vey mia. I do
Yeah,
not, not a fan of either of these ladies, but this matchup I think is pretty clear cut.
I think Jocelyn gets this one done.
I'm amazed that you say that, considering A, that you just saw Cachoeira get a knockout. B, Jocelyn Edwards is just trash. I mean, I don't understand where this like thinking that she's better than she is comes from. She's okay against lesser opponents. She is not great. She's just not great. She is about as low mid as they come to me.
That all may be very true. She's gonna get Cachoeira down and sit on top of her for 3 rounds.
Potentially there.
That's
Okay.
what's gonna happen here.
All right. I could see
Yeah.
that. I mean, fair. Cachoeira has impressed me very recently, but she is, I can never support her considering how dirtball of a fighter she is. Take the dirtiness out of it. There may be some elements that lend themselves to thinking that she's better than average. I I mean, Edwards does like to stand and strike sometimes. You know what I mean? She's out there kickboxing, so I think if she even tries that for a second, Kashweda could take her head off. But
Mhm.
if she does take her down, I mean, Priscilla Kashweda can get submitted pretty easily. She really does not have great ground game.
Yeah, I think that's probably the likely road that I would take.
All right. Well, I will. I'll again bet the dog on this one. I'll go with Kashweda. I think that you know if we've how many times have we seen fighters who where there's a clear cut method to victory just go the opposite direction?
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen that from Jocelyn though. The only fights that I've seen her lose, I mean, was against Eileen, and Eileen beat her at her own game type of deal. But then after that, Jocelyn, she finished Chelsea Chandler, I'm pretty sure. Um,
That's Chelsea Chandler.
Yeah, but it shows that like she wanted to get her the fuck out of there. You know, she went in there with a game plan to get it over with. And Priscilla, zombie girl, whatever you want to say, I don't think she'll go in there with the game plan to strike with her for 3 rounds because it's probably not going to be the most effective game plan. If she gets her down and sits on her for 5 minutes around, then we're cooking. And if she only needs 1 round to do it and she submits her, then we're even better.
Carol Hosa all over again is what I'm hearing from this, and that's if that ends up happening, then fair enough. But I think that Kashweda finds the shots, overwhelms her. I think that is possible. I think I think that is more than just possible. I think it's could be likely.
You might be right. You might be right.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I could absolutely be wrong, but again, this is one of those ones that I really don't want to put my backing towards either of them. So if I'm going to, the woman coming off of a finish makes a little bit more sense to me.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, Uros Medic versus Gilbert Urbina. What are you thinking?
Euros Medic being on the Apex and the second fight of the night. I know I was complaining about the second fight of the night on this week's card. This is valid for a second fight of the night because this is going to be a finish. Medic is going to go out here and piece this dude up. He's 7-4 and he's already been knocked out 2 times in his career. Medic has got hands, and this dude is very, very slick. So I think he goes out here and does exactly what he needs to do and finishes this fight. So
Medic is a dude who is a little bit kill or be killed.
yeah,
That kind of worries me sometimes when you're going up against power strikers. Gilbert Urbina does not immediately jump out to me as like take your head off guy. So I mean, does he have like knockouts on his record? Like, is he
he
just
has two.
he's got two? All right, then maybe I'm not giving him enough credit then, because I mean, he's just it's certainly I remember the name. I don't necessarily like have a lot of associations with him as like what he is dangerous with. But I do know that Medic will go out there and hunt for the finish, and he will get finished. So I'd be
Yeah.
a little worried about his chin. But that being said, yeah, I mean, based on the knowledge that I have of both sides, I will also go with Medic on this one.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. I think this is a solid fight right here.
Sure. All right. And then starting things off, Gabriela Fernandez versus Julia Stolyarenko.
Look at that record.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Stolyarenko's been around for a minute and obviously taken a whole bunch of losses. Fernandez is coming off of the victory over Wang Tong. Am I right?
No,
Is that Fernandez or no? Am I
Oh
wrong?
no, I actually yeah, that is her. That was
Yeah.
that long ago. I thought I saw her fight. I always get her mixed up with there's another Brazilian girl that I always think about is her. But yeah, I guess that was that long ago that she fight. That was November of 2024. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, she's been out for a little while for whatever reason, but yeah, I mean, she's getting a finish in that fight, going up against Stolyarenko, who, as you said, the record kind of does speak for itself. She's always been that sort of lower tier fighter, unfortunately, and again, not trying to dogpile, but I mean, Fernandez has given us reason to believe in her. Stolyarenko
Right.
hasn't, she's floundered too many times.
Yes.
I think it's a pretty easy call on that one.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say that I've seen her and watched her flop many times, but I'm looking at a record of 11-9. So I'm gonna go ahead and say she's not getting it done.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and sadly to say, I've seen enough of her fights and remember her name well enough to know that record is like valid. You know, that
Yeah.
she's not one of those ones where it's like, man, but do you remember the fights though? It's like, no. That record is exactly what it should be. So, Gabriela Fernandez, go out and get a finish. You know, I mean, you finished Wang Tong, who was a surging prospect at the time there, you know, a name, the Joker, all the stuff that she comes with. You get a nice finish in that fight, another finish there. I mean, that starts to really build a name for you. So I think that this is exactly prime time. 10-3 is not the absolute best. You become 11-3 at that point with a back-to-back set of finishes. That starts to maybe move the needle for you a little bit more.
Yeah, hell yeah. Now this one, I mean, not gonna say I'm excited for this to open up the card, but we will see what happens.
Go out there and make it exciting, and the
Hell
tune
yeah.
changes quickly. So that's the full deal for UFC Fight Night Delitze versus Hernandez. Of course, you know that you can watch these fights along with myself or Chase on our individual watch alongs. I am at youtube.com/@YamaShow. And Chase, I know that you can tell them where they can find you.
They can find me every Saturday that the UFC is having events, and I am watching it at youtube.com/@CPSmalls. And of course, on x.com/@CreativePartin, PARTIN. That is where I will be saying some funny things occasionally. So
There you go. I am also on x.com and on Instagram at Yama Show. Make sure you follow over there, subscribe to both of our channels, all of that good stuff. And Chase, did you want to give a little teaser for what we're cooking up here?
yes, this week we are going to be going over the Smashing Machine documentary. That is the first on our series that we are going to be diving into a lot about film and some documentaries that revolve around mixed martial arts. And we are going to be doing that this week. I don't know if it's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, but it's going to be one of those days. You can mark it on the calendar. Promise that.
Exactly. Keep an eye on the socials for some more updates on which day we're going to be doing that. But I cannot tell you how excited I am about this as an old head in this sport. You know, this is classic MMA, film documentary here. I mean, and obviously we have the dramatized film, The Smashing Machine, coming out as well. So this is perfect timing for it. So I cannot wait to do this. Looking forward to it. Keep an eye out for it.
I think the one last thing that we should mention, if nobody was here at the beginning, or if you didn't catch our midway segment through, we are now sponsored. We do have a first official sponsorship. Thinker is holding it up right now. I want to let him go ahead and explain it what it is one more time for everybody out there.
Absolutely. Know that we could not end the stream without giving one more shout out to the sponsor, Shroom Bar. These are mushroom based protein bars, clean energy, taste really, really good. You can go to eatshroombar.com. Promo code LWF will get you 10% off of your order. And the link is in the description of the YouTube video of this stream. Click that. That will automatically apply the 10%. You are going to enjoy this product, and we thank Shroom Bar very much for sponsoring this show.
We absolutely do. And everybody, you guys are awesome. Appreciate all the support that everybody's been obviously giving. The chat was popping a little earlier. Obviously, we got a little late. Everybody needed to go to sleep. But anybody who liked, anybody who commented, anybody who subscribed during this video, you guys are awesome, and we will never forget you.
Absolutely. Indeed. Very much so. So I'm going to crack one of these Shroom Bars open now. You guys have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week. And as always, fight on.
Change.